Welcome. Hello and welcome to Healthy Earning and Wealth Building for Trauma Survivors. I'm so happy to be here. This is not an official anything of anything, except that it's a hope and a prayer, especially for people who go to Debtors Anonymous, Under Earners Anonymous, and ACA, Al-Anon, AA, really anybody who identifies as someone who's a survivor of trauma or has issues with addiction or codependency, Overeaters Anonymous, etc. Okay. Some of you were at our 12 steps, working all 12 steps around money and trauma issues, not even a week ago. Thank you for coming back. Great to see you again. And I'm going to have a few slides from that, and then we're going to talk about some other things specifically around healthy earning, and just like what, like I've just noticed there's some DA literature that's been talking about certain kinds of earning, and I'm like, this feels like it was written by someone who's never actually earned money. you know, I'm like, gee, I don't know if people actually know what it feels like. And I'll just share my story with you guys briefly. So I came into 12-step recovery on January 16th. Sorry, my brain's just a little scrambled. January 16th, 2006, my first program was Overeaters Anonymous. I was definitely going to die from my eating disorder. And then OA saved my life. And we'll actually talk a little about OA and how that relates to recovering from under earning today. And we have a special guest who's gonna be willing to sit in the hot seat and talk about his own personal journey and kind of like be coached in the hot seat. So that's going to be exciting. And anyway, so July 2nd, 2006 is when I came into Debtors Anonymous. I did not have my own place to live. I did not have enough money for food. And I was very, very, very scared. And I'm very grateful to say that I recovered relatively quickly. My income went up by 500% from year 1 to year 2 in DA. It went up again by doubling from year 2 to year 3. So by year 3, I was earning in the 6 figures as a job person. And then by 2011, I was earning in the 6 figures as a business owner in my vision. And I still am 1 year at a time by the grace of God. I've been solvent this whole time. I've had successes and failures. My lips get chapped very easily. So life still has complexities. I'm also a mom. I'm like the greatest joys of my life are my 2 beautiful children. I've been married and divorced solvently. So I'm living proof that you can be a regular person and still have DA recovery that feels really good and still have ups and downs. Okay, so step 1, what are we powerless over? So I'm not going to go too far into this because we talked about this, a few days ago, and we'll do another one of these step work workshops out in March for sure. But I just want to remind you guys that when we're struggling with a compulsion to under earn, we really are struggling with a disease of mind, body, and spirit. And that the alcoholics, they figured out that there was this thing that they had that had this disease of mind, body, and spirit. Like that was real for them. I believe that the word alcoholism can be a word that stands in for post-traumatic stress disorder or complex PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Because of partly all of the stuff that we read about alcoholism and what the early alcoholics wrote about it, and then all that we read as we read modern trauma research, etc. Step 2, we talk a lot about my best thinking got me here in steps 1 and steps 2. So I just want to remind you that there's a lot of program literature. There's ACA literature that talks a lot about denial and dissociation. So I'm going to talk to you about dissociation today. I'm going to talk to you about all these things, but I'm not inventing it. I'm really just standing on the shoulders of wonderful people. And my belief is we're just not done. We're just keeping on moving and building together, and we really can recover together around money and joy and abundance and everything. So I want to bring your attention to this line. We manage the massive amount of deprivation we feel, because we're going to talk a little more about deprivation soon. So deprivation. Also, there's a lot of ACA literature that talks about being afraid and hiding and staying invisible. Everybody with me so far? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah? Okay,
Yep.
great. Awesome. So I was talking to somebody. It's so funny. I kind of slapped this together yesterday morning at 5 a.m. I was like, let's do a obsession about this because I was having so many chats with people about these different issues. And there's even somebody on here today. Oh gosh, I know her real name and I don't remember her fake name, but you know who you are. We talked this afternoon. Um, and I decided to put a slide in after talking with her um, because, oh, it's Fraggle Rock. Fraggle Rock. Do you remember we talked about this? Yeah, totes. Um, thank you. So we were talking about this terror of feeling deprived. And she was telling me about how, you know, and what she was saying was very connected to things I've heard many, many other people say, and ways I've heard many, many other people give service and advice in Debtors Anonymous and Under Earners Anonymous, but especially Debtors Anonymous, which is they'll say, oh, if you're worried about feeling deprived, let's figure out what you can buy for your self care. And they end up coaching people to max out their money so that they don't ever really become really competent savers and investors and people who are really building financial stability, prosperity, wealth, more than just people who don't debt, right? But people who are inured from too many emergencies with not just a large prudent reserve, which I want us all to strive for, but a large retirement, like a large sense of we have a future, we're going somewhere. And it occurred to me that this willingness to tell people, well, can you get yourself a pedicure? Can you buy yourself flowers? It's fine if it's a small thing, right? It's fine if you're also, supporting them in investing in their stability and investing in their future, right? But it reminds me an awful lot of hearing people in the food addiction rooms talk about, well, if you're hungry, just drink 10 cans of Diet Coke because that's better than binging. And I think most people now know Diet Coke's not so good for you, right? But it's 0 calories, right? So often when we're dealing with brand new people in food recovery, we do have to kind of tell them, do whatever it takes, right? Drink endless water, drink endless seltzer, make yourself sick from fake sugar, you know, but at least you're off of real sugar, right? At least you're off of real flour. At least you're not binging on things that are, making you completely sick, just a little sick, right? So I understand the incremental harm reduction of that. But when I meet people who tell me they're 20 years solvent and they don't have anything in retirement, or I meet people who are chairing DA meetings and they're living off credit cards because their PRG people told them to do it. So that must mean it's okay. What I said to Fraggle Rock this afternoon was, these folks don't realize that when you tell someone spend money on yourself, it's good for self-care, it'll help you not feel deprived. It concerns me as a person in DA because I think to myself, I don't know if these people have ever learned where feeling deprived really comes from. So let's talk about where feeling deprived really comes from. So looking, I'm fascinated by research into tribal stuff, right? So I'm like, okay, who are we biologically, right, as humans? Well, for 490,000 years, basically up until the agricultural revolution, we lived as hunter-gatherers, right? And so we were completely tribal. Child rearing was tribal. And by the way, even in agricultural societies, child rearing is still very tribal and very communal, okay? But 490,000 years of of tribal survival, of true hunter-gatherer tribal survival, really means that we need to tune into what is this biology, what is this physical body built for that we're all walking around in, this meat sack we walk around in this modern world. What is it really built for? And inside of the hunter-gatherer tribe, long-term human survival only succeeds inside the group of connection and support and some disconnection and competition. We're wired to tune into the survival needs and norms of the group. And when one person in the group, even unconsciously, initiates disconnection, other people feel it. right? And each person also has power to initiate and intentionally spread connection, safety, and collaboration. So I'm putting that out there because I want you to get how much power you have to build tribe and to lead tribe. Are you powerless over are you powerful over your disease? Probably not. Are you powerful over God or God's plan? Definitely not, right? But do you have the power to be a leader who builds tribe in our beautiful fellowship as we are learning to make it healthier? Yeah, you do. You do. And I want to really honor that and celebrate that and encourage you in that. I'll also just show you a cool little slide about neuroscience and how much neurons organize into resonance when people are interacting. So just cool, just fun, cool. Like this is just real science about real brains. This is you. This is a little um, manual about how your brain works. And I want to remind you that your tribal needs for support and connection and your tribal needs for when you were a little kid and a baby, those tribal needs are older than your human parts of your body. So if we look back at our monkey ancestors and our hominid ancestors, all of them are tribal too, and that's 50 million years of consistency in the parts of our brain that we have from those parts, right? So our tribal needs are 50 million years older than our capacity to multiply 42 times 18, right? Now, in the tribe, we have this ability. We have this ability now to still find a few people who are living as hunter gatherers. And actually, this study came out in 2023. In the tribe, there have been anthropologists who go to the tribe and they sit there with stopwatches and they watch people communally, tribally caregiving their children. In the tribe, the maximum amount of time that a baby cries before a caregiver holds them, 99% of the time, maximum amount of time is 25 seconds. The longest amount of time for that other 1%, the longest amount of time a baby cries is 2.5 minutes. I don't know about you, but I've never met anyone in the Western world who had that experience as a child. So I think that's important that we need to pay attention to that. And often there are more than 14 caregivers. 14 caregivers is the minimum number that has been observed in tribal societies. So without that tribal support for the babies that we were and the parents, right? Like it's easier to be a mom, it's easier to be a dad when you have that much support, right? Without that tribal support, we dissociate. And I believe that we dissociate before we pick up any other drug, whether it's food, alcohol, drugs, porn, fantasy, etc. I believe, in fact, that we pick up food and we pick up alcohol and we pick up drugs and porn and fantasy and all the other stuff. We pick it up to make dissociation easier. And then we grow into adulthood and dissociation grows with us, but we use different names for it. We call it procrastination, avoidance, denial, and numbness. So to survive, we have been avoiding 4 things that are really important for money, health, for healthy earning, for healthy wealth building. We have to avoid truth about facts. So that's information, numbers, clarity. We have to avoid truth about emotions. We have to avoid actions consistent with truth, which we often call procrastination. And we have to avoid visibility, right? And we feel like doing these things might kill us. And for when we were children, that was true. And so when I take people through the 12 steps, some of you were with us when we went through the 12 steps, you guys might remember, I always say, we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate your trauma software because it kept you alive and we love you and we love that you're breathing and we love that you made it this far and you are going to make it further. We believe in you. And we don't even want to like move from like defect to defense. We want to move from defect to defense to celebration because it took enormous creativity and brilliance and resourcefulness for that little baby and a toddler and child that you were to figure out how to shut down and how to hide and how to dissociate. And you did it. And a lot of kids don't make it out of childhood. We don't get mad at those kids. We hold candlelight vigils for those kids. We leave flowers on their graves. And it's the kids who learn to dissociate and shut down and manipulate and steal and lie and be compulsive. It's those kids that make it out. So we got to celebrate those kids. We got to love those kids. We got to hold candlelight vigils for those kids. Now, I am quoting here some of the newer conference approved literature. I'm not going to read all of it to you, but I was actually qualifying on a meeting on Monday, and we read this. We read this like spiritually sustainable earning manifests in our bodies as ease and digestion. What else did they say? Relaxed shoulders and jaw, deep oxygenated breath. I was like, who wrote this? Like, what? That has not been my experience. It's beginning to be my experience 20 years into the program. But if we are teaching newcomers that this is what they should expect to feel when they are earning money, then we are selling a bill of goods that is not actually going to be recognizable to them. Like, we're trying to help people recover. So emotional, oh, we're happy, joyous, and free. We from a state of acceptance, we take action. Those first couple of years when I was in DA, in the early part, from a state of desperation and fear and confusion and hope, I took action. You know, I think today I have more acceptance, but that took years and years. And I don't want you guys to hold yourselves to the notion that in order to have healthy earning and healthy wealth building, you have to be 20 years ahead of where you are. I want you to discover that you're capable of earning and growing now without being fixed. So I made this little red X for you. I'm like, don't listen to that. So I want to share with you that the founder of DA, John H., attended OA meetings because he was really trying to understand how people in recovery dealt with an addiction where they couldn't give it up. And he actually invented the spending plan based on food plan. But John H. was never a food addict, so he never worked the steps in OA. And he never lived through the slow natural changes that unfold over years in a food plan and in physical movement plans for those of us who broke our bodies to bits with anorexia, bulimia, food addiction, exercise bulimia, diet pills, laxative bulimia, and more. So I feel very grateful. It's taken me a long time. Sometimes you figure stuff out, but you don't know why you figure it out. And when you're trying to explain it to somebody, you don't always know how to explain it. Like, I've been explaining my story more these last couple of months, and I've discovered that I don't think I would have figured out as much as I figured out in my early DA if I hadn't done the steps in OA very deeply for the first 9 months of my recovery from January to October or so of 2006. So, food recovery that I want to talk about the lessons from food recovery. When I was first working the steps in OA, I had to write these long, deep compulsive eating inventories. I had to write these endless analyses of red light, yellow light, and green light foods. I would hear people in meetings say, if you want to know why you compulsively overeat, stop doing it, right? They would talk about how there was this like desire to analyze and talk about it, and it made sense because like there were it was just such a multi-headed hydra. Like, it was so much more than just alcohol or drugs. It was like this thing waiting to eat you like every minute. And so it did feel like the why mattered, and yet there was also this element of once you could figure out some way to kind of stop the bleeding, there was a lot of pain underneath. I remember hearing a lady qualify and talk about how she was obsessed with stopping overeating and becoming skinny. And then instead, what happened once she finally got abstinent and stopped overeating was that it wasn't about getting skinny at all. It was about all the emotions she'd been stuffing down for years, right? And having to like go get help and healing and love and support for all these emotions that had no place to go, right? And it was very normal in OA to hear it's not about the food. It's never about the food. When you want to eat, go call 3 people, go to a live meeting, write for 10 minutes or 10 pages, get into your body, your heart, your connection with others. And I don't always hear that in DA. I don't hear people saying it's not about the money. Don't worry about the pedicure. Go get the love. Don't worry about the flowers on your table. Go get the love. I don't hear that yet, but I think we will hear it more. And I think it does get said. I'm sure it gets said, you know, but here we are. We've mushroomed in our population since Zoom came along, and we got to start recording and documenting what really works for these little pockets of functional DA people in Los Angeles and New York, right? And I live in New York, so hey, you know. Um, Hunger is hunger for love and connection long before it's hunger for food, right? These are the things I heard in my OA rooms before I got to DA. And abstinence reveals vulnerability and pain. We can't get abstinent. This is what I learned. This is what I experienced. Until we have more than enough support for the vulnerability and the pain that erupts out of us once we stop surviving and coping with food as our core coping mechanism, right? So, you know, in abstinence, hopefully we discover that we're born deserving a tribe of love, you know, and support and useful guidance, that it's impossible to face truth about facts, emotions, take action consistent with truth, and be visible without that tribe of loving support and useful guidance. And a slogan I heard in OA was, pain shared is pain cut by half, joy shared is joy doubled. And I definitely discovered some of that by weeping on the phone, right? When I was first coming out of my very first OA relapse, the only way I could get out of relapse was by committing.
Would you repeat the double business?
Can you put that in the chat, whoever that was? Can you put that in the chat? Because there's an echo and we can't really understand you.
Okay.
There's an echo. So can you write it in the chat?
Okay.
It's disabled.
Oh, it's disabled. Well, I think that person has two things going, so you're gonna have to get into separate rooms from the other whatever. So sometimes, so what happened for me, and I guess it may have been that person was asking if pain shared is pain cut by half, and joy shared is joy doubled.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So sometimes we discover, so for me, when I got out of relapse, I was, the only way I could do it was I would call my sponsor and I gave her 3 meals a day, 1 to 2 snacks, no sugar, no flour. And then I committed to her that I would also do this thing where I called someone before breakfast and told them, this is what's on my plate for breakfast. And then I would eat it. And then I would call them back and I would say, okay, it's done. And then I would cry over my empty plate because it was so painful to lose my best friend. You know, the only thing that had been keeping me alive up to that point, as much as I hated food, right? I missed it so much. It was so painful. And that I had to do that for several weeks. And that was incredibly important as a sober reference when I got to DA and UA. And I had to learn how to change behavior around money and earning and work. So, and I had to cry to other people. I couldn't just cry alone. Crying alone doesn't work. Crying alone would always lead me to a binge, right? So what healing under earning actually feels like. Oh my God. So truth and action, self-care, self-value, and visibility feel dangerous to trauma survivors. We can't show up for these things until we have more than enough support for the vulnerability and pain that erupts out of us as we experiment with emerging from our hiding places. And as we break isolation and emerge from invisibility, we discover we feel shaky and uncertain as we take action for higher paying opportunities. We do things that feel not just uncomfortable, but legit cringe. I have a friend, I'm not sure if she's on tonight. She told me she might come, but I wasn't sure. And she's more than welcome to, like, you know, keep her camera off and have her, you know, do some kind of wave or something, because we're trying to preserve everyone's anonymity. But I've known her for years, and she's been in DA many years, and she's been solvent for many years, and she's given and received many PRGs, and she's worked all the steps. And I thought of her as kind of a stalwart in DA. And one day I called her up. This was actually in August, and And I said, hey, how's it going? And she said, well, I'm filling out a loan application. I said, oh my God, you're finally getting that house you wanted. You're applying for your mortgage. That's so cool. She said, no, um, I haven't worked in so long, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. So I'm going to take out a loan. And I was like, what? I'm like, you're a TA person. What? And I was like, let's get on the Zoom right now. And I'm going to give you like a 1% BRG and we're going to fix it. And I gave her a bunch of actions to take that night. And I was like, you got to do things that make you uncomfortable. You got to do so much. I'm going to take off my glasses because I'm tired of seeing the reflection. You got to do so much that makes you uncomfortable. Oh my God, please. And you got to pray to God and be like, God, I'm willing to do what it takes. Think with my thoughts, talk with my lips, love with my heart. And you got to go, go, go. And I showed her some stuff. I'll show you guys a little later. And she was like, really? I'm allowed to do that? And I was like, yes. And she called me a few days later. She said, I'm doing all these things that are so cringe. Oh God. And I said, good job. Keep going. And that was August. And in September, she made $15,000. That was 2025. And she's made 10 to 15 grand every month ever since. She was ready, you know? But I can't get, I've helped a lot of people increase their income over the years. I can't get anybody to increase their income if they're not willing to be massively uncomfortable. It hurts. It's scary. It's like, like, um, we take action with doubt, fear, uncertainty, pain, discomfort. We will never be fixed enough to be totally free of pain or doubt. Certain things will get easier. There are things that were hard for me 20 years ago, 19 years ago, 18 years ago, that are not hard for me anymore. You think everything's easy for me? It's not. I'm still learning. And then I try something else or I do something else that's hard. And then I go, okay, that I did it. I did okay. I always ask for help. I always ask for support. And then that thing gets easier, right? Okay, here we go. How under earners sabotage recovery. We will never be fixed enough to always feel good, to feel worthy, capable, etc. Waiting to earn, to act, or to serve, like to call and spread the good news to other people. Waiting to do that until we are good enough, or a lot of us are compulsive learners, right? Credentialed enough, right? Waiting to be good enough, credentialed enough, perfect enough to earn and act and take action and serve. That's a perfectionist fantasy, and that's a fantasy that the trauma survivor in you made up. And you guys know I wrote a book, and I was just actually reading some of it last night with one of the book clubs that reads it, and I forgot that I wrote this thing about how the wounded caregiver who doesn't know that they deserved 14 caregivers when they were a kid, and that they deserve 13 other people helping them when they're a parent, right? Like that wounded caregiver gets so overwhelmed and so tired and exhausted that they start saying to the kid, if you would just be better, faster, more perfect, I could be okay. And they're wrong. They're wrong. God bless you, Michael Jordan. They're wrong. um they don't know, though. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know that they deserve 14 caregivers as children, and they don't know that they deserve 13 other caregivers to help them raise their children. So God bless you, they unintentionally replicate. My co-host is sneezing. I love it. Sneezes. You're sneezing on the truth. That's what happens when people sneeze. They sneeze on the truth. You know about sneezing on the truth? She's sneezing on the truth. So they unintentionally replicate this perfectionist fantasy. My mother used to tell me, if you could be skinny, then you'd have no more problems. You know? So that's the perfectionist fantasy. Here's another thing that we learn as we recover. Sometimes we have to learn from bad examples, and more from bad examples than good ones. I try to be a good example, but I don't have time to talk to everybody, you know? And certainly I did find people who were good examples, but I had to sift and sort through a lot of people. And you guys kind of get, I'm very extroverted and I'm a little wacky, right? I'm just like, I love people. Let's get on the phone, right? So as a desperate baby child under earner in new to DA, I'm less than a year in DA and I'm about to ask for my first raise and I'm calling 100 people to ask for help. And I wasn't saying to myself, I'm going to call 100 people. I was saying to myself, I'm going to call people until I feel I can do this because I felt so incapable of doing it. And I knew I needed to do it. Something in me knew that. And I talked to about 100 people and 70 of them told me not to do it. And what was interesting was that some survivor part of me knew to test them. And so I was sort of secretly testing them after they told me not to do it. And I'd say, okay, thanks for your feedback. How's it going with you? Right. And they just thought I was being reciprocal. But really, I was testing them. And all of them were miserable around money, every single one. And that was something I learned a lot from. That was something I learned a lot from. And then 20 of them said, yay, go for it, girlfriend. You got this. And I said, oh, cool. Thanks so much. Can you tell me maybe about a time you asked for a raise? And they were like, no, I've never done that. That's terrifying. But I believe in you. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take the belief. Thanks. And then about 10 of them said, yeah, I asked for a raise and I got it. And here's what I did. It took a long time. And it really was the 10th person sifted and sorted through all the others who had done it, where I was like, okay, now I feel ready. Wow. When I actually got my first raise and my second raise a few months later, I felt like I was going to pass out both times. Because that trauma software is like, you are so in trouble now, right? Another thing I started doing as part of my early under-earning recovery was that I started abstaining from personal email, internet, or phone, not because I was like so virtuous and I had read all the research. No, I wrote inventories on my getting fired from job after job. I got fired from 3 jobs in 6 months in 2006. The third job was my DA miracle job that I got on my second week coming into DA, and then I got fired 89 days later. And it was everyone else's fault until I started writing a 4th step on it that I had learned to do in OA. And then I realized, oh my God, my relationship to personal email, personal internet, and personal phone is the same as my relationship to one bite of a brownie. And I had to make up a distraction abstinence plan for myself. So what it really feels like. So you heard me say, I felt like I was going to pass out. I felt like someone punched me in the gut when I started doing that distraction abstinence plan. Walking into a business meeting, convinced you're going to be fired. I've done that a million times. I've done that with a client where I'm like, oh, they're definitely firing me today. And then they're like, hi, I've been working on everything and it's, and I'm like, oh, okay, great. Opening an email, convinced you're going to be fired, and the boss is actually writing to tell you you're an asset to the team and they really appreciate you. And also not everything is a win. Living through negative feedback and losing clients and actually going and calling people and being like, I lost the client, like they didn't like me. But then continuing to move forward with new action, new prospecting, new lessons learned, deeper belief in our higher power and ourselves. And I'll tell you, sometimes negative feedback is the best thing that can happen, because thanks to this program and Al-Anon, or these programs in Al-Anon, when I have a client shouting at me, which is very, very good, because that usually means they're paying well. Because when people love you, that means you're not charging enough, right? When people have high expectations, because they're like, listen, I'm really paying you for this, so I really want this, right? And they're telling you what's not working. I'll speak from the I, if I can stay calm and say, I'm really glad you're telling me, talk more about that. Let me tell you, 90% of the time when a client was mad at me, I did not lose the client. because I learned to turn it into an opportunity to listen. And that did not happen easily. That happened with like, oh my God, oh my God. Like the first time it happened, I was like, oh, good. Okay, he's shouting. God, what do I do? What do I do? And God was like, just say nothing and keep hanging out. Don't run away. And then there was this moment where I was like, talk more about that. Right. And I slowed down, etc. And as we practice uncomfortable action of all types, we discover that it does get easier over time, especially if we have tribal support and we can process and reflect. So cool. All right. So now, D'Artagnan, are you ready to be in the spotlight with me? We have a
Spotted.
special guest. All right. We have a special guest who is going to be coached on his stuff. I'm going to spotlight him. I don't know how to spotlight you. That's okay.
I
If
have
you
my
keep,
camera off.
yeah, it's fine. Keep your camera off and just keep talking. And this is D'Artagnan, everybody. D'Artagnan is absolutely his real name. He lives in the 18th century or the 14th century. I don't even know. Does anybody know when the Three Musketeers was written? um, yeah, and he fights for France. Vive la France. Okay, D'Artagnan. So I hear you want to start a business in France in the 1700s.
Yep.
So what have you heard so far? I'm actually going to ask you to reflect on what you've heard so far tonight. And I know you and I have chatted in the past thanks to the miracle of technological time machines. So like, why don't you talk a little bit about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've heard so far, and I guess maybe the software that I'm running on is that if you talk about yourself and you say good things, it means you're arrogant, and being arrogant is bad. And I don't want to be bad, so I don't say good things about myself, and then I don't make sales. And then, through pain, desperation, confusion, I realized that that way of being was wrong or not effective. But that didn't help me know how to be. I just knew like, man, I've tried a lot of stuff that doesn't work. And I don't necessarily know what does work. And it doesn't seem to be a problem of intellect, at least as far as I can tell, which has been um, very humbling, right? And yeah, do you want me to keep going or?
Well, you said so many good things. But you can keep going a little longer. Wait, can I say one thing? I don't think the Three Musketeers chose you as their fourth musketeer because you were dumb. I think you're a really smart dude. Um, and I also really relate because like my early career, my first job out of college was for the United Nations. Well, my first job I didn't get fired from right away was for the United Nations. And then I stayed there for a while and then I went to this nonprofit group that was like amazing and remarkable and one of the most effective anti-poverty groups in the world. And it was like a big deal that I had this job there. And I still sabotaged it and I still lost everything and ended up in Debtors Anonymous and Under Earners Anonymous, right? So I really relate, I was a magna cum laude graduate of an Ivy League university, right? So I really relate to having plenty of intellect to spare and still having this disease, right? So I just wanted to share, like, you're not alone in having lots of intelligence and intellect and also feeling like, oh my God, how do I earn money? Now, please go on.
Yeah, I think some other parts of it are, kind of related to the intellect. Like I have this massive vocabulary, but whenever it's time to ask for money, right, or ask for money for services that I perform, holy shit, that's terrifying, right? Or all the feeling cool, calm, and collected goes out the window. I tend to avoid it, or it just feels weird and odd. And also, it seems like a simple thing, but it feels really scary and complicated.
That is,
Um,
yeah,
like
fabulous.
the math in business isn't algebra, it's arithmetic, you know, and
Yeah.
yet, holy crap, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just, you give me X dollars for Y work and you will like it. And, you know, in my story, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else, but I've never been fired from a job. I'm always a good little Boy Scout. I'm a good worker and I under earn like heck,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
I
this is
just
why
know
I'm the
something
rebel
is
of
wrong.
DA, right? Like I'm fire. I'm happy to make trouble, but I've never been able to be like. I mean, I've learned to be like that in 12 step. Thanks to 12 step. But yes, good job never being fired. But you under earn like heck. Yes, go on. Sorry.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure I have more off the top of my head.
Okay, great. So the two things I want to address that you brought up so much, but there's two things we can address tonight that I think will be extremely powerful for other people too, and very relatable. I'm sure there would be more, but this is just what's coming up in my brain right now. Two
Hmm.
things. One, the trauma software messages. I hear you saying that the trauma software, this was something you said almost right at the very beginning. You said the trauma software tells me it's not okay. It's okay to have good, it's okay to be good at things, but it's never okay to claim my value, right? And to say to someone, hey, I'm good at this and I can help you and I want your money so that I can help.
Oh, yeah, that is very off limits.
Yeah. Um, and it sounds like also when it's time to talk about money, there's a part of you that goes, that kind of crashes. Does that make sense? Does that sound right?
Yes, not kind of like it crashes for sure.
Okay, great. So can we get a quick show of hands? Like who identifies with D'Artagnan? Are they allowed to raise their hands, Michael Jordan? Oh, we have so many people raising their hands. Oh, look, we have Destiny's Child, y'all. Man, I love Beyonce and Michelle. Um, Amazing. Wow, so many hands raised. Do you feel a little better, D'Artagnan, that you may not feel worthy of the Three Musketeers, but so many people are raising their
Well,
hands?
yeah, I'll do a yes and um part of the story in my head is that according to social media, everyone has already figured this out way before me, and I am so behind and screwed, and no one else has this problem. So yes, it feels great seeing the hands.
Good. I'm glad. I just want you to know, most of those people on social media have not figured it out. I've met some of them, even when I've met people who made lots of money on social media and then lost it all, you know? So, like, earning isn't the only key to all of this, you know? Saving and investing and living not just within your means, but like truly beneath your means in a self-care oriented way. That's a really new space for those of us who survived these really common difficult childhoods across Western life where we didn't get our 14 caregivers, right? So there's two things that you've said. You've said it's not okay for me to basically feel confident in how valuable I am, right? Is that another way of saying the first one?
Um, I think it's okay to feel that way, but I can't say it out loud. Like that's against the rules.
Got it. And the second one is when it's time to talk about money, like it's like a physical experience of like blah, 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 right? Like a breakdown.
Yes.
Okay. So So yes, definitely there's real trauma software there. And I would say, and everybody can lower their hands. Thank you so much for raising all your hands with all of your wonderful fake names. Thank you for your fake names. They're so cute. I especially love, well, I love all of them actually. Um, and Lulabelle, you can maybe, Michael Jordan, do you want to help put everybody's hands down? Um, so, um, so D'Artagnan, there's a couple of things here. Number one, um, when we dance with trauma software, we have to we have to first and foremost say we love it. We have to first and foremost affirm it, and we have to find people in our world who will affirm it. And my hope is there's about 45 of you here tonight. My hope is that when we stop the recording and open up the chat again, that you'll exchange you'll exchange numbers with each other. And my hope is that you will practice affirming each other to help shift and change that trauma software. So one of the things about trauma software, one of the things about survival in the nervous system is that when we tell it, you have to stop, right? Like if I said to you, stop devaluing yourself, D'Artagnan, that's ridiculous, right? Like that Bob Newhart sketch on SNL, right? Where he's like, just stop it, just stop it, just stop, right? Your survival software is going to say, I've kept him alive this long. Screw you, Nora. I'm in charge. And it's going to take over, right? And it's going to make you be like, blah, blah, when it's time for, being in money conversations and all of that. So we want to love the trauma software because it's only through love and valuing and safety creation that the trauma software learns that it might be safe enough to lower the weapons, right? And remember, the weapons are avoiding truth about numbers, avoiding truth about emotion, avoiding action consistent with truth, and avoiding visibility, right? Those are the weapons, right? So you got to be really nice to the trauma software. You got to be like, good job, little D'Artagnan, running around on the estate with the Duke of the Marquis of the whatever schmatever, trying to survive that difficult French nobility childhood. I'm sure the 17th century French nobles were terrible parents. That's very easy to assume, okay? I'm completely messing up my Three Musketeers knowledge here. It might be, I think, 14th century. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure those people were bad parents too. So there. So we have to really love and care for that little boy, right? And we have to practice connecting with other people in our tribe because this is our tribe. We've got 14. You've all got this 46 people. That's enough, right? We've got to practice connect. Like we have this beautiful woman named Enjoying Jello here, right? Like Enjoying Jello can say to herself, hello, little Enjoying Jello. When you were a little kid surviving those difficult Jello commercial sets with that scary Bill Cosby, you were so brave. Michael Jordan thinks I am hilarious. You were so brave. You were so brave, sweetheart. He was so scary. Who knew he was going to rape 45 women, So not only can Enjoying Jello say that to herself, but she can say to D'Artagnan, I appreciate your little 17th century nobility child for how he survived his crappy French nobility childhood. And then you can say to her, and, Enjoying Jello, those, childhood commercial sets must have been miserable back when there were no protections for children in Hollywood. And you suffered so much trauma and you were such a freaking survivor. You were so creative and resourceful. Great job keeping on. And you're breathing and you're both amazing, right? And you can really affirm each other, I really want you guys to take that away. Like tonight, you can really affirm each other, Sometimes I get on the phone with some of my closest friends who do ACA and they're like, are you being, what do I hear them say? Are you being unkind to yourself? And I'm like, I don't need you to shame me for having this. Like, I need you to tell me I'm wonderful. Like, I need you to tell me my little girl is terrific. That's what I need right now, So that's like the core piece. And then we can also talk about affirmations, which are like a really powerful, tangible way to dance with software, right? Then another piece is just logistical, okay? Because in point of fact, installing new software can be very logistical. For instance, the subconscious mind, where a lot of these self-sabotage pieces work, like operate, the subconscious mind does not know the difference between rehearsal and performance. Okay. So one thing I did when I was early in my recovery, and I still do this sometimes, but I did it a lot in my early recovery, is you can role play. Like you can just role play and role play and role play these difficult money conversations, because you can discover that you're safe talking about money. The other thing is I teach about neuroscience and money and neuroscience and sales, and I've taught it to thousands of people in, at hundreds of companies, 700 companies and counting, 80 industries, 5 continents. Everyone is afraid of money conversations. I've never met someone who's like, you know what my favorite conversation is? Asking for money. It's just never that. Like that's never everybody's favorite. And then there's like a tip. There's a super duper tip here, D'Artagnan, which is that the thing about it's okay to feel confident, but it's not okay to brag. You're not wrong that if you're like, I'm so special, I'm smart, and I've done so much, people are gonna be like, God, that guy's such an asshole. Like, I guess what they say about nobility is true. Ugh, you know? Those arrogant French nobles, man. So so you don't want to be that, and you're not wrong to be kind of aware that that's a thing, right? So here's just a tip. You ready for a tip?
Yep.
So pick out numbers-based achievements. And you might notice that I just did that. 700 companies, 20,000 people, 5 continents, right? 80 industries. You see, I use it too, right? Pick out numbers, because when people hear numbers, they are less likely to be like, wow, that Nora, she's so full of herself, right? They're more likely to be like, huh, that data is very interesting. If it's true, I want to hear more, right? So pick out numbers-based data. And everybody has numbers-based data. There's numbers everywhere in your world, everywhere in your life, And then if you really wanna like sink the charm, right? Here's how you do it in an interview. You say, well, when I was at the Hunger Project, which is the name of the NGO I used to work for, it was my privilege to work on that constitution for a new level of government in Bangladesh. When the mayor of Dhaka asked our Bangladesh country director to write that, he asked our New York office, and I was the only one who had any experience with constitutional law. So it was just an honor and a privilege and rather scary to write it, but I wrote it, and it got passed into law in 2011. So starting with, it was my privilege, kind of like having that, like it is an honor and a privilege to show up for life when life brings the opportunity to do nice things, right? It was an honor to be part of da 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 da. I got lucky and I got put on this team, and this team da 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 da. And you want people to kind of catch on and go, I bet it wasn't just luck. I bet they picked you because you're smart, idiot. Like, you want them to have that thought, because people love to come to their own conclusions about your attributes, about your qualifications. And you're wrong. You're not wrong that bragging or like listing off your attributes as though you are bragging, like as though you're like a Donald Trump or an Elon Musk, is not going to make you seem like someone people want to work with. You're not wrong about that. You're onto something, So how do you promote yourself? Right? You promote yourself with these little twists that are actually all about humility and about presenting people with facts, just numbers-based facts, so that then they can draw their own conclusions. Because people always trust the conclusions that come up in their own voice, in their own mind, more than the conclusions that they hear you. Like if you say, I'm really good at this, they go, oh yeah, prove it, right? But if you say, I'm really passionate about this, I love helping people in DA, I love helping business owners in my business. Like, I'm just giving you this, not because I'm trying to sell you anything, but because um, if any business owners are watching this who want coaching, not DA people, other people, you know, or maybe DA people, I don't know, maybe, oh, now I'm in trouble. Now I really am the devil they say I am, you guys. Um, you know, if I'm talking to a business owner, I'm not going to tell them I'm such a great coach. I'm going to tell them, well, I've helped over 100 companies double their revenue in 3 to 6 months. And it's really fun. And I'm really passionate about helping people grow their business. I love helping people grow their business. It's so much fun. Right. So I talk about passion, I talk about fun, and I give numbers. And I've still had people say to me, people who hired me, this is fun. People who hired me said, I just want you to know, I was a little put off when I heard you say you have a proprietary neuroscience-based methodology. Like, what makes you so sure you should call it proprietary? And I'm like, proprietary just means I own it. And I did write it and I did create it. So I don't know. What other word would you like me to use? And they're like, I don't know. It just sounds arrogant. And I'm like, okay, are you getting value from our work together? Yes, definitely. Okay, great. Well, let's not worry about if I use the word proprietary in my BNI commercial, you know, because everybody gets to have their discomfort and it's okay. Like everyone has opinions. Their opinions are healthy and normal. And the more you can affirm their opinions and let them have them and just be with it and not try to prove or whatever, it's fine. And if you can't in that moment, if you feel like you're going to explode, try putting a bookmark in and just saying, okay, and like forcing your lips to do the act as if thing, like, okay. And then as soon as you're not hanging out with those people, you call someone, right? And you're like, ah, right? And you process it and you talk about it and you say, right? And that's good too. Like that's the way we train our brains to acquire new skills so that we come off as more trustworthy, more mature, etc. D'Artagnan, you and I had talked offline about one other thing. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was the thing about when you're pitching your services, when you're pitching business, and this is true, guys, for if you're interviewing for jobs as well. There's two things that people in our incredibly emotionally impoverished society need desperately that they almost never get. They need people who are interested in listening and attuning to their needs, and they need validation and affirmation. So if you can slow down, because I don't know about you, but I've known a lot of 12-steppers who get really fast when it's time to get, to talk about it. It's anxious, right? Right? If you can slow down when it's time to talk to the business owner or the boss or the potential, interviewer, and you can say, in an interview, I always say to people, you can say to them when they say, most people don't know how to interview, just so you know, like no one has any training on how to interview. And it's something I end up doing with my business owner clients a lot, is helping them hire people. Because I do know how to interview. I knew exactly what to ask, right? Most people don't know what to ask. Here's a cheat sheet. Here's what you should always ask. Give me examples, specific examples of times when you achieve numbers-based results around things that are fill in the blank, and that blank is stuff that is similar enough to what you need them to do in this job. Ask for examples of times they achieved. That's the only thing that matters. You can get them to tell you like nice things about where they're from and, get them comfortable, figure out if you're going to like hate having to deal with them each day. If you find them obnoxious and rude, don't hang out with them, don't hire them. But as long as they're pleasant and polite, the most important thing is just hearing that they can tell you about times they achieved things that are similar enough to what they're going to be doing in this job. Doesn't have to be exactly, that you can trust that there's a track record there, right? So no one knows, very few people know to ask that, but you can always answer it. So somebody sits down for an interview, they don't know what what they don't know what the heck they're supposed to do. So they say, enjoying Jello. Tell me about yourself, right? That's like everyone's favorite interview question, like everyone's favorite, like incompetent interview question. Paper lover, tell me about yourself. My cup of tea, tell me about yourself. And you say, wow. And then you know what the job is, right? So you say, like, let's say it's a teaching job. Well, I've been a teacher for 22 years, numbers-based track record, right? Um, I've worked with kids that have all these different learning differences. I've designed 3 different curricula for English and math. You just give a kind of an inventory, if you will, with numbers, if you can, and they get to sit there and think, wow, that's so cool, right? Because they love facts, the human brain loves facts with numbers. And then as soon as they're duly impressed, the most important thing, and they can ask you for as long as you want, and I'm big on asking permission from people in interviews, like, hey, is it okay if I ask you a few questions? What are you hoping for here, right? Like really attuning to what they're looking for. Not that they'll be able to tell you, right? Because a lot of people are not very good at knowing their own needs, right? But you could say, it doesn't have to be like a job description style thing. Just help me understand what it is you're hoping for. You know, anything you feel like is true, I'm interested. And then you zip the lip and listen. And then, after you've done that, the most important thing you can do is affirm them and say, wow, I hear how passionate you are about this school you're running, or I hear how innovative you are with this business you've created, or I hear how mission driven you are with this fabulous blah blah blah. Like if you can, I promise you, people don't affirm them very often, right? So if they feel like you are, I mean, and this is the thing, con artists know this too. Right? So use this with integrity. Like use this with the intent to show up. And if you're worried you won't be able to show up, and I've known my fair share of DA people, including this DA person, I had a string of experiences in my life where I was very good at interviewing because I've got that people pleaser, like magical, like something, right, from childhood. And I would just get the job and then get fired, right? So I couldn't follow through. And DA was a place where I was able to learn how to follow through. I saw Lady raise her hand very quickly. I think we have another person from the French nobility who's here. Lady, did you wanna say something, or was that an accident?
That was an accident, sorry.
Okay, no worries. D'Artagnan, did you want to share anything else? Thank you so much for being brave and being willing to talk about your difficult French noble childhood.
I think what I have a hard time with, I mean, I think that was great advice, right? The examples of times they've achieved with numbers. And I'm like, oh shit, I need to find those in my career. Like, how do I do that? And I think it probably explains a lot. Like, well, not having done that got me where I am. And so some of the old or former jobs were so long ago that I shied so much away from talking about myself with numbers, right? That I'm like, man, how do I come up with that? Or it still feels scary. I mean, I guess the objective isn't for it to not feel scary, it's to have numbers and let them judge the numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People are going to have opinions, Maybe one of my superpowers that I came into DA with is that I love making people like me. So that was like, I was just like, like that. I don't know if that's an Al-Anon thing or an ACA thing, but I love like cultivating that. And that was one of those things I could do in the interview, right? Like I was such a people pleaser, right? I could really read what they wanted, and I could like sift and sort through my brain real fast and be like, I can use this story, right? Not everybody is as manipulatively crazy and people pleasing as I was when I walked into DA, but everybody can sit quietly with love and support and sit there and go, when I worked at this big fancy tech company in Silicon Valley, the team I worked on did do A, B, C, and D, and we did achieve, X, Y, Z, and double Z. And it doesn't all have to be you. You don't have to be 15 years into your recovery when you're only 6 months into your recovery. You can just be where you're at. I mean, honestly, when I was interviewing for my first jobs, the numbers-based results I brought up were like things I did when I was like junior class president at my high school. You know, like I would be like, but I was interviewing for an assistant job as a 22-year-old, right? So I'd be like, well, I don't know if this counts, but we did put on this fundraiser for, the junior class, the junior prom, and we called 15 different restaurants and got them to donate all the different um, items we would need to put on a barbecue. And it was the year of the mad cow disease, so we called it the mad cow barbecue because we were obnoxious teenagers. And we raised $4,000 to pay for our junior prom, and we got donations from all 15 restaurants in the neighborhood of our school. And and yeah, so that was a track record, right? Like just giving that story and not even saying, and not even giving a conclusion, just letting the person who was hiring me go, oh, that's really cool, right? So I'm sure there are stories like that for you. I'm sure there are stories like that for everyone in this room. I had a sponsee years ago, because you guys know, a lot of you know, I don't sponsor anymore. I just don't have time, but that's why we have these workshops. I had a sponsor years ago who was in DA for a number of years and was very active in service, gave a lot of PRGs, and was very kind and thoughtful and helpful to a lot of people, but was making most of her money as a babysitter for wealthy clients. And she had this dream. She wanted to be a business coach. And I said, well, you have a lot of experience coaching people in money and numbers and even business. And she said, what are you talking about? I'm just a babysitter. I've been a babysitter forever. I said, how many PRGs have you given? She said, I don't know, like 150. I said, guess what? How many people were in those PRGs? She said, I don't know, like maybe it was 30 or 40 people. I said, oh my God, you've coached 30 business owners. Congratulations. Now go tell the world. You know? She was like, does it matter that they didn't pay me? What someone pays you is between you and them. That's no one else's business. And now she's a really successful business coach, and she's been a really successful business coach for like 8 years, 10 years, longer. Okay. Anything else you want to say, D'Artagnan?
So, yeah, say they trust you. Like, I think that people trust me. I'm a trustworthy person, and it's like, yeah, great. But then I have to say, like, okay, now is the part where you pay me, right? So, say we kind of got over the trust hump, if you will. Do you have any tips on, like, here the number is? Just I don't even know how to say that, or like I procrastinate, or I dodge that. I,
The
I
most
mean, just
important,
just for
yeah.
example, is like I'm supposed to, and I think we've talked about this a little. I'm supposed to get this guy a proposal and do a mini project, which was like 15 hours, and I've billed for 10 of that 15 since November, and we're nearing March. And like I think he's probably going to pay me, and probably pay me a lot more. It's like that's like 3 months. And I knew the stuff I could help him with like the first week.
Okay. So
Hmm.
here's the magic. Ready?
Ready.
You write the proposal.
Hmm.
If you're having trouble writing the proposal, you call someone. You say, would you stay on the phone with me while I write this proposal?
Hmm.
If you don't if you don't feel confident in the proposal yet, you call 20 people, you call 30 people, I mean,
Hmm.
there's some really smart people on this call right now, just like, not just me. So you might find some people to talk to you about proposals. Just saying. Um, so you call some people, you tell them about the proposal, whatever. You get practice. You say, hey, can I practice with you? Can I practice walking you through this proposal? Because here's what I did in the early days of my um, business, and I still do it with clients now as much as I possibly can. Once in a while, somebody's like, no, just send it to me. Me. I'm like, oh my God, can I really trust them to read? I don't trust any human to read, but okay, fine. But most people, 99% of people, they want to be guided. And so I'll say to them, can we set a time when you and I can walk through this proposal live together? I want to walk you through it. I want to walk you through what I'm thinking. And then you set the time. And then if they reschedule, you say, no problem. I totally understand. You're so busy. When can we reschedule? Here's some times that work for me. Do any of these work for you? And you keep doing that until you actually get the time and you actually show up, and you never take it personally, because humans in this society are addicted to these nasty little crack pipes right here. I don't know if you guys can see this crack pipe. This is an awful crack pipe, also known as a smartphone, right? And they're completely distracted, and it has nothing to do with you. And even if it has something to do with you, unless they tell you to go away, they're still open. So just freaking keep going and talk to other people, so that you're not depending on one person. Don't ever depend on one person as the only person you're getting business from. And then lots of practice, D'Artagnan, lots of practice. You got to get on the phone with people in DA and UA and say, can I practice walking you through this? Can I practice having this conversation with you? Can we practice can we practice having you yell at me and telling me, what? That's ridiculous. And can we practice having me say back to you, I really want to work with you. And I'm really excited to bring value to you. And this is the number I want to work with. You know, I once had a company that paid me, in the end, they ended up paying me $15,000 a month for about 13 months. But after I did their paid evaluation, which was a $15,000 3-day thing, they asked me to put together a proposal. And I put together a proposal where I was going to be there like 3 days a week, which they didn't. I don't know if they really needed me there 3 days a week, but at the time I thought they did. And I said that I was going to charge them $40,000 a month. And they were so mad. They were like shocked and angry. They were like shouting at me. They were like, you're not a lawyer. I don't know why that's the thing that came up for them. And I said, I hear you. I hear you. I can't negotiate against myself. Why don't you make me an offer? And they couldn't. They didn't know how. And I didn't know what to do. And I wasn't going to say, no, I don't want to work with you, because I did want to work with them and I knew I could help them. And I had been doing the business for some years at this point. And I just I just told the CEO, it was the other people it was like the other C-level people that had yelled at me, and the CEO had just been like, ah. So I told the CEO, because I had a good relationship with him, I just said, I'm just going to call you every day and you don't have to pick up. I'm just going to call you every day and we're just going to let time deliver what we should do here, because I know you're not going to solve this without me, and I don't know what the answers are. And I called him every day for 6 weeks. And most days he didn't pick up, but once or twice a week he picked up and he'd be like, hi, Nora, there you are, you know. And about 6 weeks in, I had an idea. I said, how about, that $15,000 you paid me for the eval? Maybe that's what you can afford. And he said, yeah, I think I can afford that. And I said, okay, so $15,000 is 3 days a month. Why don't we see what we can do in 3 days a month? And he was like, yeah, let's do that. Okay, yeah. And we started working together that week. And there it was. And it was just never giving up, right? It was just never running away from the discomfort. And I'm telling you guys, you never have to give up with DA and UA, especially DA, but like DA and UA here to love you and to help you have a tribe. You never have to give up. You never have to run away. People only get to lose you if they tell you, please don't ever call me again. And you never have to put all your eggs in one basket. Like, don't ever make one person the source of this is where my money's coming from, right? We set goals for actions and routines with sales and business development and income generation, right? We learn to try new things, go new places, meet new people, and we learn to set failure goals. There's no success without regular failure. Go try to get 5 people a day to tell you no and see what happens. It's a little trick. Okay. Now, the last thing I wanted to, we haven't talked much about the wealth building. I'm just going to put it out there as this wild thing that we don't talk about enough in DA, which is my best years, my happiest, healthiest years in DA have been years when I was saving 50% of my business income. Now, it doesn't mean I saved it all. Sometimes it went to taxes. Sometimes it went to it, a portion of it would go to retirement. A portion of it would go before I had children. A portion of it would go to tithing. And then I had children. I was like, oh my God, everything is so expensive. Right? I was like, I'm sorry, I can't afford to tithe right now, but I tithe with my time to DA, right? Um, and I will just tell you that having that spiritual practice of taking every check that comes in and putting 50% in my high interest prudent reserve is a very holy practice. I love it. And I didn't do it. I did it for a long time. And then I didn't do it during my divorce years because it was like just a really stressful time and income was still six figures, but the lower end. And I just needed to be like, hey, if I'm not living off prudent reserve, that's a miracle. And I still managed to more or less max out retirement each year those years. And then this past year, I was like, I haven't done that in a while, and I really want to. And it immediately made me feel more spiritual. But I know that a lot of us on this call right now do not feel like saving 50% of every check even makes sense. So save the highest number that you can get away with each check. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 30%, maybe it's 5%. Even if that means you have to take some out of prudent reserve, right? I really want you guys to start getting that, like the same way people in food recovery are like, especially the exercise people who are like learning to really build their bodies, right? The same way, and Fraggle Rock, we will get to your question. I love questions. Or that was an accident. I don't know. The same way people in food recovery who are like, hey, I'm healed enough that I'm ready to start building muscle. I want to see how much I can lift, right? Like you start at 40 pounds, right? I don't know about you guys, but when I go to the gym, like when I'm really weak, I'm like 40 pounds, right? And then I get a little better after a few weeks, months, and I'm like 50 pounds, woo, right? So it's like that, right? And we want to build real prosperity for you. We want to build a real prudent reserve, set goals, right? Okay, if you're brand new, a 1 month prudent reserve. I hope, Michael Jordan, can you make sure that person changes their name or can you change it for them? Thank you. A 1 month prudent reserve, a 3 month prudent reserve, a 6 month prudent reserve. My prudent reserve is minimum $100,000. I've only ever gone below 100,000 when I took out 20 grand to pay my divorce attorney when I first took my ex-husband to court over some painful, uncomfortable things, right? And I was able to replenish it within a few months. But you really want to keep that prudent reserve. And I remember I set the goal for that $100,000 prudent reserve. I came into DA in 2006. I set that goal in 2013. I did put contributions into retirement every year, but I wasn't like as aggressive as I became in my mid 30s. I think I reached 100,000. I think I reached 100,000 in either 2013 or 2014, and I wouldn't end up using it for reals. I mean, it was making money, it was earning interest, but I wouldn't end up using it in a real rainy day way until my divorce in this divorce particular moment, this inflection point in 2020. Oh, we have a queen, D'Artagnan. Someone outranks you. Hooray. Hello, Your Majesty. Would you like to ask a question?
There. Okay, I'm not going to say my name.
Good, don't. Your name is Queen. Hello.
Queen. Hi, Queen. So right now I'm barely bringing in enough to even like cover my living. So when I think about prudent reserve, it's like $35 a month. That's just where I'm at. I don't know if you covered
So
that.
my invitation to you, Your Majesty, is that with every check you get, put a percentage aside. Even if it's 1%, even if it's half of 1%. See what it feels like to take a portion. If $35 a month, if you do the math, and that's half of 1% of every check you get, start with 0.5%. The idea is that every time money comes in, you pay yourself first. Does that make sense?
So that's considered paying myself and prudent. Okay. Cool.
You pay your stability, like a prudent reserve is there for stability, right? So you pay your stability, you pay, when you're ready for retirement savings, which won't be as far away as you probably think. It's amazing how things change over time, when you're ready for retirement, you'll be surprised, like when you just start doing it, you'll be amazed at how quickly 0.5% goes to 1%, 1% goes to 3%, 3% goes to 5%, and so on. Does that make sense? I can't hear her. Is she still there?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Your Majesty. You're very kind to me, a simple commoner. Fraggle Rock.
Hi, Nora. I'm just looking at those suggestions. How much of money coming in would you suggest for debt repayment?
A very small amount.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of moratorium letters. When money's really tight, it's really, really important that you learn to put your needs first. And when I say put your needs first, I do not mean a pedicure. I mean prudent reserve, You're smiling because you know that we had that wonderful talk that you inspired me with. It was an inspiring talk. You were wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for giving me good examples, right? Michael Jordan, can you make sure that everybody who's got their hand up has a fake name? Okay. And the sorry, we lost Fraggle Rock, but yeah, I believe that putting money in savings and prudent reserve is more important than a lot of these things. And when we feel deprived, I invite you to consider that what we feel is lonely. And I really challenge you, like the same way my OA sponsor in May of 2006, my OA sponsor made me write out this elaborate relapse plan of action. And it was like, before you take that first compulsive bite, and I had to make 3 calls. I had to go to an OA meeting. I had to, a live one, because this was 2006 in the ancient times. I had to write for 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 10 pages. She just had me. She was like, you can overeat. You can compulsively eat if you really want to, but I want you to do every single one of these things. And I knew it was a trick, but it was a good trick, because what she was saying was, do not white knuckle, and I feel like in DA, we get a lot of advice to white knuckle, and I don't want people white knuckling. That's not the point of recovery. I believe that recovery spontaneously combusted into existence as an answer to the loss of tribe. I really believe that deep in my heart, Michael Jordan, do we know for sure that the next person in line has a fake name?
I've messaged them, so I don't know.
It's the
Okay.
name of a
The
plant,
first
so
name.
yes, it's a plant.
Is it me? Sorry, the chat is disabled, so I couldn't respond to you. My bad. If it says Noya Rao, then yes, it's not my real name.
Thank God. Okay. Yeah. I've never heard of that
Yeah.
plant. What kind of plant is it?
It's a bioluminescent master plant from the jungle of Peru.
Of course, D'Artagnan knows that because, he travels with the French Foreign Legion,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Noya Rao.
Yeah. So my question is to follow up on the debt repayment that you guys touched on, because right now I'm in that stage. I'm calling, and I think this is a new development, and tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I've been calling all my creditors to, because I have no income right now, and I really need to, get them on the moratorium or lower interest rates or whatever, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I call them and they're like, we can't help you. And I don't know, they're like, call us back maybe like 30 days from now, 60 days, like later.
Why are you communicating with them by phone at all? You should be only communicating in writing.
But where to? I've tried finding their email addresses. It's it seems like they've all revoked access for people to email them or to send them letters. They only want you to call them, or when you call them, they want you to call, nonprofit people that give you a loan to pay off your debt thing. Does anybody? Maybe I'm not doing it right, and that's what I actually wanted to see if anybody's got any experience or hope around that area, because I don't want to call them. It's giving me panic attacks every time I think about calling them.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. It's been a really long time. Actually, I don't know that I ever called any creditors
Mm-hmm.
or wrote any creditors. I've certainly sat on PRGs where I advised people to write their moratorium letters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you certainly can uh, you certainly can write a letter to whatever their main office is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they
Mm-hmm.
have to have a business address somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you can say attention, credit,
Mm-hmm.
attention collections, whatever. And you can send a letter to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and
Oh,
you can
okay.
say, I am trying to make a good faith effort to establish a moratorium on these predatory credit cards because I have no income right now and I have every intention of paying off my debt in full.
Mm-hmm.
I intend to have, full integrity with paying off my debt, but very slowly. I am
Mm-hmm.
requesting, a moratorium on payments as well as a moratorium on interest. And they won't even give me a physical address to mail to or to email to.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a great idea.
I have sent this to their general mail and I don't know what to do. Please help. Get
And
them in
and
trouble.
right. And you said consumer what? Consumer protection,
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That's what it is in the US.
Financial Protection Bureau. Okay. Yeah, that
Consumer
would be amazing
Protection.
because like I said, I'm hitting a wall with them constantly. But you know what? You're right. There's probably a mailing address to at least for those who are still sending check payments to them.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's the address I should go find and just try.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that in classical DA, and I came into DA right at the end of classical DA, right?
Yeah.
Right before everything else exploded, right? In classical DA, everything was right, physical writing, physical writing. That those first few years of DA, I never heard anybody talking about emailing creditors. That'd be crazy. Like, what are you talking about? That's not official, you know? Like, no,
Mhm.
you gotta do the old fashioned, with a stamp, you know? Um, and it works. And I don't know, shoot, what I do? I've never seen a written down version of a moratorium letter, so I wrote one into the book that I wrote about DA based on
Mm,
everything I've heard.
mm,
So you want to make sure that you say, um, uh, I am writing to you to request a 6-month moratorium on my credit card payments. I am requesting that you suspend interest growth during the 6-month moratorium. I fully intend to pay off this debt in full. The amount that I took out as debt, I fully intend to pay it off in full. I have complete commitment to integrity around this money I've borrowed.
mhm.
And please only communicate with me in writing. And I do know people who are actually still coming to DA. They're just not like superstars in every Zoom meeting. Um, who sat down with their PRG people, wrote a 6-month moratorium letter. Oh, you also have to tell them, I will be in touch with you. Like, let's say, my 6-month moratorium starts February 19th and ends August 19th. Well, I'm going to be in touch with you. I'm going to send you a letter in July to start discussing either extending the moratorium or discussing terms of repayment. And
Mhm.
this particular gentleman, his PRG people insisted that he extend his moratorium so that he ended up taking an 18-month moratorium, 6 months at a time,
Mhm.
just to help him rebuild his reserves.
Mhm.
And you also have to go out and get money, sweetie. You got to earn money.
Yeah, yeah, that's next. I mean, that's
Yeah.
now. That's
That's
happened.
now. Yeah,
That is
exactly.
now.
Absolutely.
Thank
All right, let's take our question from Evening Gown Jumper. You're muted.
Got it.
There she
Thank
goes.
you so much for this experience. It's wonderful. My question is, a statement first, then a question. I have a lien on my house that a company has bought, and I've had it before, and I've always paid it off because of surprises that happened to me. But anyway, I had, I don't, I talked to him. I know they're not going to do a moratorium. They just don't. Those lien companies, they benefit if I don't pay it. And in the past, I've always paid like just whatever I could until I could pay it off. For the past year, I've ignored it. completely ignored it. And I just talked to them. I finally got the courage to call and find out what was going on. And I said, well, is it okay if I pay like $20 a month? Because that's what I did before. And she said, no, you have to pay da 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 da. So I don't know really how
I'm a
to.
little confused. I don't even know. Like, how do you get a lien on your house? Like, I'm not a debt expert. I'm just an amateur.
Oh,
I am a business consultant, so I know how to teach you how to like earn money. But
from
what?
not paying taxes, for not paying your property taxes. The county,
Um,
the county sold the bill to this lien company. So I have a lien on my house that this company owns. And so if I don't pay it off,
why
I
didn't
could
you pay
lose my
property
house.
taxes?
I just got so far behind. I just under earning. I wasn't in recovery.
Okay. Well, so I don't know what to tell you in terms of negotiating with the lien company. I do know that you can also go to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and say, I've
Okay.
dealt with this, you know, uh, I'm dealing with serious financial hardship. Um, I intend to pay off my debt in full. I mean, you can write this letter to any creditor. I would not advise talking to them by phone. They love to tell you that they're in charge of you. They're not in charge of you. You know, will this all affect your credit score? Big time. But your credit score is not your higher power. And it takes slow, consistent action to dig out of this stuff. And please, God, don't leave DA once you do dig out. I've known so many people who dug out and got fabulous and abundant, and all of their debt was paid off. And they were like, oh my God, I'm really earning, and I have a retirement account, and I have a prudent reserve, and it's amazing. And then they left. And when I saw them again, it was all gone.
I haven't started DA recovery. I've been recovering for the past over 2 years in Media Addicts Anonymous.
Oh, I love him. Oh, great. That's wonderful.
And just recently, I've started relapsing again. So, and it's because of these ambition and money issues that I was, just been, flailing. So I need to, this is a reminder about going to DA and UA.
Welcome. Glad you're here. You belong.
Thanks.
The part of you that avoids is the part of you that was the brilliant trauma survivor. And you deserve to have a tribe, and you deserve to feel safe so that you can grow up into healthy adult financial responsibility. And by the way, other cool stuff happens with financial responsibility, like fun,
Yes.
and fellowship and connection. Like, I don't ever want anybody to like get good at money and hate their lives. Like, I believe that we're supposed to be happy, joyous, free, responsible, integrity, prosperous, joyful, abundant. Yay. I want you to have a fun DA recovery. Will every moment be fun? Probably not. But a lot of it can be fun. And that's why we have all these funny names today. Because any opportunity for fun is like totally worth it,
Love it.
I'm glad you're here. Keep coming back. Miss Fraggle Rock, did you have yet another question?
I do. Nora, do you recall earlier today you said like that early days in DA you were capable to use your magical kind of people pleasing snake charmy ways to like
The
get
early days of my DA, right?
Yeah.
My 20 years, not
of yours.
DA
And then
was started before I was born, but yeah.
no, your recovery. And then so you were able to use your like magical kind of people pleasing charmy ways. You said you said this like in a job interview and you get the job.
Yep.
And then what you said is that then you get fired. And then you
Yep.
said but then the next sentence you said is but the more time I spent in DA, like what was the healing that happened for you in DA that meant that you could not just charm during the job interview, but show up consistently day in and day out? The reason I'm asking you, Nora, is because that's my big struggle. I can really charm the pants off somebody short term, but it's the showing up Monday to Friday kind of regular, consistent effort that is wicked hard for me.
Yep, absolutely. And you come by it honestly. Yeah. Because all that hiding and like that feeling, when I graduated college, I was 21 years old and I was like, I'm ready to retire. I've been holding up the universe since I was 5 years old. Oh my God, right? So breaking it down into really tiny pieces. And for me, I did have to do the hardest thing I'd ever done other than get abstinent with food, which is I had to give up personal distraction at work. And that was not an obvious thing. That only came from writing enormous amounts of step work a la the OA way. I had learned to do it in OA around food and all the pain and confusion and like braided together survival mechanisms of food addiction. Right? Because I don't come, I mean, yes, I gave up drinking and I'll call myself an alcoholic and go to an AA meeting because I love AA so much. But AA, it was not hard to give up alcohol. It was ridiculously, oh my God, I'm dying hard to give up food. It was the most painful thing I've ever done in my life until the day I started committing to no personal distraction at work. And that was the most painful thing I'd ever done then. And the first moment I resisted temptation with that, like it was the first day with the first commitment, and I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I had to call someone and commit it in the morning, and
Yeah.
pray. And by the way, the person I was committing it to told me not to do it. And I was like, no, I don't think you know. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to get fired. Like I had done the step work, so I knew. So I did it and I committed to it. And the first moment that I was in the office doing work and I finished task 1 and my hand reached for task 2 and I was about to do it and I heard the voice say, check your email.
Yeah.
See who loves you.
Yeah.
And I went, no, I told my sponsor I'm not going to do that. And I reached for the second task and pow! It was like someone punched me in the stomach. It hurt so much. It was violent. It was instant. I coughed. Like I was like, oh. It was like someone punched me. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this pain. And of course, I didn't have my own office. I was a peon, right? And the girl sharing the office with me goes, are you okay? She was like, not a nice person. And I was like, fine, I'm fine, right? So I was like, this must be a good pain. Thank you, God, for this discomfort because it means I'm growing. Thank you, God. And what I did not know would happen is that if I just didn't escape, if I didn't run away from the pain, and I just sat with task number 2, which is what I did because I didn't have any, there were no other options, that the pain slowly died down. And then as I got to the end of task 2, I was like, wait, is this going to come back? And I finished task 2, put it on the done pile, reached for task 3, boom, it came back, but it was slightly less horrible. I was like, okay. Woo. And I was thinking, as I'm doing this, I'm like, this reminds me of when I got abstinent out of that horrible relapse and I had to cry over the empty plates after every meal. Like, this is the only time I've ever had pain this bad before. And I didn't know that it would be that way, right? Like, it was all discovery. It was all like, I guess I'm going to try this thing because I think I'm going to not be able to function, or like, I just think I'm going to get fired if I keep doing it the way I was doing it. And the other piece, and this might be more relevant for you, Freckle Rock, the other piece was that I ended up finishing a lot of work at that job because I couldn't distract, so I had to do something, right? But the other piece was that once I was like performing and like producing and I got promoted on my 3rd day, like it was cool. And I was like, ooh, I was getting all this approval and I love the approval and the credit because I just love compliments and affirmation. And my inner child is like, oh, love me, mommy, love me, right? On the 4th week of that job, the boss brought me into her office and she said, Nora, everybody hates you. She was very you need therapy. You're more disorganized than my 15-year-old daughter. And if you don't shape up by next week, you're out. Right. And that was it. Like, that was all she said. There was nothing specific. And I went to like 9 DA, OA, and Al-Anon meetings that weekend because it was a Friday. And I just took a bunch of advice and decided among a bunch of other things, I decided I got this book called Driven to Distraction. It had these ideas about, putting color coded things on file folders to make it easier to organize, because like ADHD people, we have inner children that need color, So I like took these dorky suggestions for making my desk more organized, which I did Monday morning. But I also started going to an Al-Anon meeting, which is in New York City. Al-Anon basically is ACA. Don't tell anybody. And I went to the Al-Anon meeting every morning before work, and I just sat there and cried for an hour, and I wrote affirmations, and cried for an hour. And somehow that purchased some version of maturity. And I can tell you with 2020 hindsight, I can tell you that what she was complaining about was how incredibly needy and childlike I was behaving, or childishly I was behaving, because I just needed so badly to find people who could approve of me and love me. And by getting, D'Artagnan's back. And by getting that need met, however imperfectly, at the
Al-Anon meetings.
At the Al-Anon meeting, thank you. You can see I'm getting tired. By getting that need met, however imperfectly, at the Al-Anon meeting, that somehow it cleared away my neediness for about 8 hours. And then I would leave the job and go straight to a meeting. And that was what I needed. And I was a 2 to 3 meeting a day girl for a long time, like 1 or 2 years,
Yep.
like Al-Anon in the morning, OA and DA at night, and that was only, I didn't know how long that would take. It took 2 years before I was like, oh, I think I can be mature at work. That's crazy. Oh. I still do better when I go to meetings in the morning. AA, Al-Anon, ACA, something. I'm just a nicer person. I yell at people I'm not supposed to be yelling at less, especially work people. So
can I tell you a secret, Nora, really quickly?
I guess so. I mean, I hate gossip.
I listened to your story about going to the Al-Anon meetings, and I went to an Al-Anon meeting every morning this week, and I yelled at my students so much less because I can't even explain it. I don't even have an explanation. I just know that I yelled at them less, and I don't really know why.
I mean, I can give you a big set of explanations, but the truth is it doesn't matter. Like if you want to know why you compulsively overeat, stop doing it, right? If you want to know why you yell at people from isolation and loneliness and exhaustion and lack of caregivers, go get some caregivers, And I didn't know why. I was different. I just knew it was different. And I was like, thank God. I was just so scared, And I'm glad you listened to that story. And I'm glad you tried that out. The more we try these things and they work for us, the more we'll be able to share experience, strength, and hope with other people. Because believe me, there's millions of people behind you that are desperate for this help. It's not about any of you. I'm here, given this late night time at Thursday night, I'm here for all the hundreds of people who are going to hear your story someday. You're going to be like, there was this crazy lady, her name was Nora. Half of us really liked her and half of us could not stand her. But I started doing a couple of the things she talked about, and then things really got better. And now you must do it, Sponsy, or else. No, you'll be really nice. I know you. Yeah, I'm really glad you did that, Fraggle Rock. That's awesome. My cup of tea, you've been so patient. Great work. What's your question?
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure, Michael Jordan.
If you want my cup of tea, we can spotlight your video, but only if you would like that.
Sure. I don't know what does spotlight my video mean. Just do it.
No, it means that you'll be on the YouTube. Remember, we're recording.
Oh, right. That's fine.
Are you sure? I don't want to.
Sure. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Hello, YouTube people. She consented. Maybe she'll hate me later.
Yeah.
Ooh, we'll see. Okay, we've got a spotlight. We've got 2 people. Should I stop sharing the? No, this is good. It's good to be small on YouTube. Go ahead, my cup of tea.
Cheers, Nora. Could you start with 1% or 5%, move up from there? What's the 1% or 5%?
Savings.
Okay, right.
Prudent reserve.
Yeah, because right after that was prudent reserve, and I was like, oh, is that 1% or 5% prudent reserve? What? Okay, so 1%.
Well, it can be like prudent reserve and retirement,
Sure.
but you got to have like a basic prudent before you start doing retirement, because the thing about retirement is that it's usually not accessible right away, you know?
Yep.
So we don't want you to have to like take loans out from your retirement.
Got it. Yeah. You want to keep that stable and steady. I just wanted to quickly respond to the tropical plant in the Peruvian forest, whatever, whatever, about communicating with creditors. So there is a pamphlet in DA specific on it.
Yes.
It's, from memory serves, it's orange text on the front. It's a very helpful pamphlet. Yes, everything in writing, just everything in writing, because it brings clarity for you, and you have a paper trail, you have a record. If they ever call you up, you can say, no, well, actually, January 25th. And if you happen to get on the phone, there may be extenuating circumstances. Write down what happens in the phone call. Put the date and write down, I spoke to this person and this is what we talked about. This is what I said I would do, and I've done it. Like, just
absolutely. Yep. And my cup of tea, I want to add one thing, which is that get a binder. Like don't just like send shit out and sorry YouTube. Don't just send stuff out and be like, well, I sent a letter. Like, keep a copy of every letter.
Yes.
Send it certified. Keep a copy of the certification. Start the binder. Get the like keep it in a binder. Like, we at DA, we don't create systems very well. We're all ADHD. We're all trauma survivors. ADHD and trauma surviving are the same thing. Don't tell everyone who already knows anyway. But so we need to be told these basic things. Get a binder. Get the little sleevey things that have the 3 holes punched, and just put the copies in, and just do it like you would invest the level of spiritual magic and asking for help in making these papers real, and making sure there's 2 copies of everything, and making sure you send it certified. Invest spiritual magic in that the way you would like make a new baby holy in a baptism, or in Judaism we'd say like a baby naming, right? So like bring that much holiness and that much meaning and get that much love and support for it, because you can't do it alone. You're not supposed to do it alone. You were never supposed to do it alone.
Amen to all that. And the other thing I wanted to bring is bookend.
Yes.
Even if you're writing a letter and you're finding it difficult, call someone, say, I'm finding it difficult, or be on a meeting and say, I have this action to take. I'm having some difficulty with it, so I want to share about it, and leave the difficulty at the meeting, and I'm going to bookend it.
And I still get people on the phone with me to keep me company while I do stuff.
Sure.
I don't do it alone. And if I can't get anybody on the phone, or if I know there's a DA or Al-Anon meeting I don't hate, I get on the meeting on the Zoom, and then I do the thing. So I do not drive alone in DA. I do not. There's no, I'm not interested. There's no reason to. I'm 20 years in. I'm still asking for buckets of help all the time.
Amen to that. Recovery means I don't ever have to do anything alone.
Amen. Love that, my cup of tea. Peppermint, and, jasmine.
Are we able to put our numbers in the chat?
We will, for sure. We will.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think Hank Aaron is next. Big slugger.
Yes. Hank Aaron in the house.
I know who you are, Hank Aaron. I'm reading the tea leaves here. Thanks, Mike.
All right. So 2 questions. One is, just for context, I'm newer to DA, and but so one clarification question on a term that you mentioned earlier. That one is white knuckling it, like just to elaborate on, what that what is it?
Do you want me to explain white knuckling?
What's the slang? So that's, yeah, if you would elaborate on that. I
Sure.
mean, I've heard the term, but just want to be on the same page. And then
Sure.
number two is it's along the credit card line strategy debt as well. So I thankfully am I thankfully have I started a great salary job in December, but I'm like behind on credit card debt. One of them is, I don't know, like 3 ish months behind. And so what do you think of the strategy of like settling and, I don't know, paying like 50-60% of the credit card debt just to wipe them out, and then taking the lump on the credit score, and then
Yeah, I mean, it's not up to me. Like, I know people who've done offer and compromise settlements. I know people who've done it. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't think, credit scores are not our higher power. The only danger is anytime we get out of debt quickly, that it does something funky to our brains, and it's very likely, unfortunately, like, just not talking about you, Mr. Hank Aaron. I know you're an excellent baseball player and you're probably very good at, like, delayed gratification. But the rest of us in Debtors Anonymous, we have this crazy thing where we get out of debt quickly and then somehow, some way we go back in. Like, we hate sitting in debt for a long time, but we hate not sabotaging ourselves even more. And so it's like like that. Just like easy gone, easy back. Kind of like crash dieting. Like, back in the day when I would crash diet, right? I mean, I was so bad at dieting. It's like remarkable how much I lied to myself, but I didn't know any better, right? So I would lose a bunch of weight for a while, but then it would always come back with friends, and I see the same pattern in DA with debt, right? And so I will tell you that I did get rid of my credit card debt very early in DA, just because it happened to be very small and I happened to have like quadruple the amount that it was in my prudent reserve. But I did not get rid of my student loan debt. I paid off my student loan debt every single month at the lowest possible payment. And I did not get out of student loan debt until 2023 because I was really trying to follow program direction and it felt like the right thing. And I did automate the payment, so I didn't have to think about it. But I remember writing it down every month and putting it in my spending plan. And in January 2023, when the final student loan payment got paid, I was like, oh my God, I'm debt free. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. And it was like 17 and a half years into DA. And I was a very different person 17 years in than I was when I came in. I was a very different person 17 years in than I was 2 years in.
Cool. Thank you for that. And
And
yeah,
white
and then
knuckling?
the white knuckling.
Okay. Do you see how if I go like this real hard, my knuckles get white?
Yep.
Okay. And then I couldn't even help it. I had to grit my teeth too, right? So white knuckling and teeth gritting and all of that, it's like trying really hard to control, I guess. Trying really hard to do it from a place of I got this, I have willpower. And I'm never a nice person when I'm white knuckling, for sure. I guess white knuckling might be connected to deprivation, right? People certainly, Hank Aaron, have you heard of this term called dry drunk?
No.
So a dry drunk is somebody who used to drink a lot, but they managed to give up the drinking, but then they turned into a horrible person.
Oh.
Because once they weren't escaping their feelings with alcohol, they were really mean to everybody, even meaner than they had been when they were drinking.
Huh.
And so white knuckling and dry drunk. I mean, I remember, you know, I learned to have an eating disorder from my mom, God bless her. And she went on this like ridiculous diet pill, something that was like medically prescribed. It became available in the late 90s. And then like 6 months after it came out, it was linked to like all this like heart attacks and people dying. So she had to go off it. But for 6 months, she had no appetite and she lost all this weight. And she got no recovery for her eating disorder and how much her eating disorder was her coping mechanism for all her horrific childhood trauma, like horrific. And I knew about her childhood trauma because she cried on my shoulder and told me what it was when I was, you know, 6 and 7. So she just became so angry all the time. She was just angry all the time. And it was a lot, you know, it was really hard to deal with. And
Nora,
yes, Michael Jordan.
I would add, Nora, that you talk so much about the importance of love, support, and the tribe.
Yes, that's actually Fraggle Rock talking, isn't it? Go ahead, Fraggle Rock.
Well, I'm riffing on what you're saying, and
go for it.
Love, support, and the tribe. And so, in my experience, white knuckling is sobriety or abstinence or solvency with no tribe and no love and no support.
That's exactly right. I was going to get to that, but I'm so glad it got said with two voices because I think it's always easier to learn when you're hearing it from many people. So thank you so much for jumping in.
Yeah, it's misery. It's misery.
It is misery. That's right. So it's really about getting the emotional support, because the thing is that when it's me and my control stuff, I'm never really doing anything differently. In fact, I'm probably acting out at people more, even as I try to act out at myself less, you know? So the way that I prevent myself from acting out at people is I get more love and support. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for the love and support.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. Great job on that baseball field. Paper lover.
More home runs coming.
Oh, fantastic. Paper lover, go right ahead.
Yes, I'm asking for myself, and I know for others.
Yeah.
I wrote it down, so I think I got it out of my brain right. How do you imperfectly get love and recognition when getting love is so terrifying? Getting love hurts. Getting recognition and people caring about you hurts. How do people do that?
That is such a great question. There's a lot of answers. Well, first of all, you're right, paper lover, that you're not alone in asking this question. Like you're right that getting love is a very painful experience after you've kind of had a lifetime of deprivation. And the only way to survive has been to be mistrusting of love, for sure. No question. The first thing I'll say is that it's a very slow process to let it in, but it doesn't have to be a slow process to practice connection. So instead of calling everybody and being like, can you tell me I'm loving and fabulous, and you can just practice. You can say, hey, I'm calling to practice connection. And whatever amount of connection you can tolerate, that's enough. Because it's a titration journey and it's never going to go faster than it can. But it's never going to go if you don't do something. So one thing that helped me when I was early in recovery is I would call people and I would keep my expectations very low, and I would remind myself that I could get off the phone anytime, right? And I didn't have to be like, oh my God, my house is on fire, I have to go. I could be like, oh no, I have to go. Oh gosh, there's this thing, I gotta go, sorry, right? And you have permission. If you really need it, I will give you permission, you know? You can lie if you have to. You can be like, oh my God, my boss is pinging me. I gotta go. Sorry. Right? Oh, someone's trying to get in touch with me. Oh, sorry, I gotta go. Right? Cut them right off. Right? And sometimes I won't say, I don't think any of you actually on this call are people that I've done this with, but even in the last few days, I've been on the phone with somebody and I've been like, oh my God, you know what? I'm so sorry. These clients are trying to get a hold of me. I gotta go. Right? Most of the time, if I've said that to you, it's true. But once in a while, I just say it because I gotta get off and I don't want to hurt the person's feelings. And I can feel that my tolerance, my window of tolerance is closing. Right? And it's not about them being wrong or bad, right? So you got to listen to your window of tolerance, right? And so when I was brand new, like my first time making calls in OA, I would just be like, hi, I'm calling to wish you an abstinent day. You know, when I started making calls in DA, I would just like, hi, I'm calling to wish you a happy, abundant, joyful day. I always like DA was so much more fun than OA because like OA felt like serious and miserable and we're all going to die. DA was like, well, everybody else thinks it's serious and miserable and we're all going to die, but I am a channel of abundance. Why aren't they having a party? It's so exciting. You get to do this thing where you get to earn infinite amounts of money and you get to keep adding all the points to the game and the points can be dollars and it's going to be so fun. I don't know why my brain was like that, but I would just call people in DA and be like, happy abundant day. And I hid behind that. And I needed to hide.
Right.
And it was enough. And slowly I let people in and then they betrayed me. No, they didn't betray me, but they did let me down. Right. And sometimes they betrayed me if they were from my family of origin. Oh, right. But like people will let you down. And that's part of the pain of growing out of trauma and into adulthood, right? Is like I can learn to have connection and love and also learn that no one person is ever going to do everything for me. In fact, no 5 people are ever going to do everything for me. But if I get 1% of what I need from 100 people over a week or two, I'm going to be okay. And honestly, I was going through a lot of emotions over the last couple of days because, to be perfectly frank with you, an ex-boyfriend called me and it was triggering. And I just needed, I know it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm a big girl. But I needed to talk to people. So I talked to this gal and I talked to that guy and I talked to this gal and I talked to that guy and I talked to my Al-Anon sponsor and I talked to this lady who remembered when I was dating him and he was kind of a schmuck. And then I talked to another lady who remembered when I was dating him and they all just said like, don't you remember this? And don't you remember that? And some of them were like, do whatever the hell you want. Just take notes. Right. And I probably talked to 8 or 9 people about the situation. And then I went, I have what I need. You know, so I got 12% of what I needed from 8 or 9 people, and I had 100% of what I needed.
Okay. All right. I think that will really help all of us. Thank you.
And I'm glad to help you too, just you, paper lover. It doesn't have to be about other people, but thank you for being cognizant of how much this is an issue for everyone, including me. I'm gonna move on to this incredibly famous basketball player, Mr. Larry Bird. The crowd goes wild.
Thank you. My achievements were legendary, hence my name, Larry Legend.
What's up?
You were talking a good bit earlier about when you're in the context of maybe supporting somebody else, loving the trauma symptoms. And I was wondering if you could just expand on that a little bit more. And particularly, I can see that being easy in a support call, harder when there are mutual stakes involved. I'm thinking of either a romantic partner or a friend who's also a business partner. And if you could just talk about, like I experienced this, I see the symptoms come up and how to love those symptoms.
It doesn't work outside of program the way that it works inside of program. I know because I've tried to make it work outside of program and I have always failed. When I met my ex-husband, and actually, this ex-boyfriend that I was talking about just now, when I met each of them, I could see their trauma symptoms and I could say, wow, look at that thing you did to survive. Oh, good for you. And they loved it. They ate right out of my hand. They were like, oh, Nora, you get me. And then when I needed stuff from them, they didn't have it to give. It just didn't. It wasn't there, you know? And I wasn't like intentionally trying to like get into two different very significant romantic relationships um where I was in like a 90-10 relationship or a 95-5 relationship. Like that wasn't my intent. In fact, if anything, my ego really loved that they thought I was so amazing, you know? So some of it's just ignorance, you know? Like I can't know what I know until I learn it, you know? But when you're in the moment of appreciating trauma symptoms, the only people you can really do it for are yourself with help from others in program, like safe people in program. And just so you know, you're not going to get the help you need from everyone in program. You're not going to have people in program who can love and honor and connect with you and celebrate that little boy that you were, Larry Bird, because I'm sure your childhood was hard. I mean, nobody becomes a giant basketball player at that level without having a lot of, God-sized holes they've got to fill, right? Um, I'm sure your childhood was hard, Larry. So, I want you to understand, even in program, you might only find 20% of the people you meet are able to see you and celebrate the coping mechanisms that you're not symptoms. It's more about the deeper level, deeper than the symptoms. It's the coping mechanisms. It's the creativity and the resourcefulness and the brilliance underneath the coping mechanisms, right? So you need to be able to love that part of you, but there's no such thing. I mean, this is a very controversial thing to say, especially among the ACA world. I don't believe there's any such thing as self-love by itself. I don't believe in self-love. So there, I said it. Oh my God. Nail me to the cross. It's not that I don't believe in it. It's that I don't believe that it starts with self-love. I believe that it starts with like the brain. Here's how I want to say it. The brain is not a truth-seeking machine. It's not even a love-seeking machine. The brain is a survival machine and an imitation machine. So we need to find people who are going to be loving and kind to us so that we can imitate them and then learn to be loving and kind to ourselves. So when Michael Jordan, who is such a sweetheart these days, Mike, you used to be such a schmuck. When I watched that documentary about you and you were like a compulsive gambler and you were like cheating people out of stuff, I would not have wanted to be your friend. But now, look at you. You're like hosting this Zoom with me. I mean, you look a little different from the documentary, but you're such a good I've gotten to know you just these last couple months and you're so sweet. So when I hang out with Michael Jordan, I feel like Michael Jordan sees me and gets me and can affirm my crazy, right? Can be like, oh, Nora, do you have a trauma coping mechanism where you want to save the whole world? Hey, I can help. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Right? Not everyone in DA can give me that, and that's okay. I'm never going to find everything I need from other people, but I can find enough people who will give me a portion of what I need that I can imitate them and begin to basically build a reparenting tribe. And then eventually, my business relationships and my love relationships will begin to imitate that tribe, because I will have learned to imitate my tribe. And when I treat myself with the love that my tribe treats me with, then I often subconsciously end up attracting these people who treat me very well, because it doesn't make sense to hang out with people who don't treat me in the nice way that this tribe I've built now treats me. Right? I'm like, why would I? That's weird. And I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. I was very lucky that when I was a child, even though I had a lot of abuse and difficult stuff in my childhood, My parents were never, they, you know, I heard nasty things and I felt abandoned and whatever, but I never heard you're stupid. I never heard that even once. You know, I got a lot of affirmation for being smart and bright. Teachers thought it, other kids thought it, other kids were mad at me for it. They were like, you're so bossy and mean. Other kids' parents thought it. So I don't have like a thing. If someone calls me stupid, I'm like, oh, something's wrong. Are they okay? If someone calls me ugly or fat, or heck, on the Valentine's Day workshop, somebody made like this super sweet, innocent joke about how much spinach I was eating for lunch. And it just stabbed me right through the heart because that's my trauma. That's what it is. And I knew she was joking. Like I understood intellectually. And she apologized. She was like, I didn't know. Because I brought it up then, not with her, but like to give an example. And she was like, I know. I was like, I know. I'm not mad. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. I don't get to choose my trauma. I don't get to choose what hurts and what doesn't hurt. I don't get to choose what love I need and what love I'm less in need of. I can only choose to be around people who give me the love that I need and to keep getting better at choosing those people. And some people, I chose them 20 years ago and they're still on the bus. Some people, I chose them 19 years ago and they got off the bus 17 years ago and I haven't heard from them since. Some people, I chose them 20 years ago and they rode the bus for 2 years and then they got off the bus and then they got back on 2 years ago and we're besties again. And I kind of love it, you know, and we're both more mature, you know. And you just got to keep going. You just got to keep driving the bus and inviting people on and letting people off. You just got to keep going and not give up. And sometimes, I mean, I was in DA and Al-Anon and OA many years when I met and married my husband. So this isn't like an insurance policy against mistakes or wrong decisions or just complex decisions, you know. I met and married him. I thought he was great. I still think he's got some wonderful qualities. I still see the man I married in him. But when I gave birth to our first child, something flipped in him. And whatever those trauma symptoms were, it didn't matter. There was nothing I could do to affirm them. We can only do the work on ourselves and with other people in program or like program adjacent who want to do it. If you're in a business relationship or a spousal relationship, what you really got to ask yourself is, how do I have healthy boundaries? And how do I get this person to watch Nora's recording so I'm not the one telling them, you know, or something like that. Is that
Thank you.
good enough, Larry Bird?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for all your basketball contributions. I think we have another question from Her Majesty the Queen, and then we have a new question from Palm Tree. Always nice to see a palm tree talking and moving around. It's rare. Your Majesty, would you like to ask your question?
Hello. Oh, thank you for calling on the Majesty.
She sounds so regal, doesn't she?
Resolving, yeah. So I have a question. I'm struggling with asking for testimonials and like doing the, old-fashioned marketing with posters around town, and it just feels really frightening. And I also put my face on this poster, which is a huge deal. It's something I've never done before. Any support around that would be lovely.
Sure, I can give you support. The first thing I want to remind you is that your face is on a lot of money because you are the queen. So just remember that if your face can go on all those pounds and euros and stuff, then your face can go on the posters.
I love that. Right. Heck yes.
I just had to go there. Specifically, what I really hear is that you're feeling a lot of fear of visibility. And I want to love and affirm that very wise, very brilliant, very creative child who was very right about visibility being dangerous. Visibility can still be dangerous. Have you guys seen what DA people say to me when they're mad at me? It's not fun. But usually it's not dangerous. It's just unpleasant. you know? Like people might criticize you, people might say something nasty about your picture. Sometimes it's good to write down all the bad things that could happen with a friend. Like, don't do any of this alone. Please, please don't ever take any assignment I offer you and do it by yourself. Like, always get a friend, always get somebody on the phone with you, okay? So let's say you've got someone on the phone and you're like, I'm just going to write down all the bad things that could happen, right? And then you look at them and you're like, okay, most of these are survivable. Maybe I'll be okay, you know? The testimonials, I would really, what I said to our buddy D'Artagnan was I said that we, you know, the brain, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between rehearsal and performance. So I would get some people on the phone and practice and be like, okay, can I pretend I'm asking you for a testimonial? Okay, first say yes. First be like, oh, I can't wait. Your Majesty, you're such a good queen. I can't wait to write you a testimonial for all your queen fabulousness, right? And then say no. And say like, no, I'm not giving you a testimonial. You're the worst queen. And just see how it feels. Just see how it feels to sit with those different feelings, you know, and see how it feels to survive those different feelings. And if you cry, it's okay to cry. I had a friend a long time ago who told me that Michael Jordan knows this story. And oh, my camera's losing focus. So I'm just going to turn it off and then turn it back on. I'm back in focus. So I had this friend and he was actually an actor who was acting in a play that was going from Broadway to the West End. And because he'd been in DA for some time, not like as a like he wasn't like a super active DA person, but he was like a poolside DA person, but we were friends from another program. And he would call me and he would say, because I've absorbed enough DA, I talked to the other actors and I said, it's kind of messed up that we're only getting a salary and not a per diem, even though we're all leaving our homes in New York and going to London, you know? And they were like, yeah, good point. Why don't you go ask the producers? And he called me up and he was like, I don't want to go ask the producers. I'm so sure I'm going to cry. God bless you, Michael Jordan. Do you know that you're not muted? Oh, no worries. It was great though. You sneezed on the truth for all of us to hear. Anyway, so I said to him, well, here's the way to ask for the money. You say, hey, we are all really excited to do this show. And we think you guys are awesome producers and we're excited to work with you. And we also want to get a per diem. And he said, what if I cry? What if I'm so scared I cry? I say, okay, so you cry, take some deep breaths. You can even still have tears running down your face. And then you say, hey, we are so excited to do this show with you. And we would really like a per diem, right? And I think specifically the thing I'm thinking of was when he said, what if they offer a per diem that's too low? And I said, oh yeah. You say, hey, I am so excited to work with you guys. We are so excited to work with you guys. That was not the number we had in mind. And he said, what if I cry when I say that? And I said, so you'll cry and then you'll say it. And I don't remember if we practiced it, but certainly you can practice it for anything, testimonials. You can call me or Michael Jordan or somebody else on this thing and say, would you practice coming up to me while I'm nailing a poster to a telephone pole and telling me I'm a schmuck? And like, let me practice going, thank you so much for your feedback. Let me just finish nailing this poster in. You know, it's just practice and having love and support as you build the internal software to become capable of it. Does that make sense, Your Majesty?
Thank you. Yes.
Good, I'm glad. Okay, palm tree. We got a talking tree, people. Miracles everywhere.
Okay. Okay, so I have I have a couple questions. So we'll start with the one about actually fantasy, because something you said during that Saturday workshop,
Sure.
Valentine's Day, that you said like if you like in trauma and survival and all the time, and then I go ask you, so what is it that you want? And you're like, if you answer me, it will be like you will be fantasizing because you kind of don't know what you want because so something like that. I don't know if you remember, but
I
but
kind of remember.
fantasy was interesting because it's something I dealt with obviously in romantic relationships, and I worked on in 12 step in a relationship program. But it's also the one that really hurt me the most in my professional life. I was kind of playing small for a long time, and then I was like, you know, it really started doing amazing things, and I started like manifesting, but it's like got super arrogant, right, about it. So I just thought it's gonna continue forever, and I started fantasizing more and more and more, and it kind of crashed and burned there. And now I'm almost like afraid to set a vision, like I was like, is it really true? Like, where is this coming from? So yeah, if you can talk a little bit about that fantasy and knowing what you want.
Was the question on Saturday something about how do you know what your vision is, or how do you know what you want? Is it something
I
like
can
that?
remember where it came from. I
Yeah.
don't remember what it were you talking about actually. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I actually have an answer for you in the slides. What's up? In the next slide. What's up? What's up? Magic, magic. That's what's up. Okay, so let's talk about it. So a vision, what do I know about a vision? I know that a vision is something that's not happening right now. And I know that it's something that I do not know how to get to, because if I knew how to get to it, it would already be happening. Or I would be so on my way to it, right? Like if I'm like, my vision is to have groceries tomorrow, right? I can be like, okay, Instacart app, blah, 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 blah. By the way, Instacart is not a paid sponsor, but you should be. I use them enough. Free groceries, anyone? Like I'm like pretending to do this. I'm like actually doing it. Like I know how to do it. And so I'm doing it. And like, sure enough, groceries are going to show up tomorrow because I know how to do it. Right. So it's not really a vision because it's easy to achieve. And it's something that I've done a lot of times. And then there's things that I would really like to have happen, but I've never had them happen. Or I had them happen once, or I had them happen in a different way, and I don't know how to have them happen this way. And that's okay. That's life. Growth has to start with something, has to start with some direction, right? So what do we know for sure? We know that you can write and describe your comfort zone pretty well, right? And one thing I love about 12-step recovery is that it helps us get honest about our comfort zone, right? Like, did I know that people would get mad at me for writing a book about DA where I used my last name? Yeah, I knew that. Did I care enough to have it stop me? No. Did I care enough to have it be something I wasn't quite sure what to do about, and it kind of like kept me up at night sometimes? Yeah, I did. And it took me like 2 years to be like, a part of me wrote this book because I love drama. Right? Like that's my comfort zone. And it's an opportunity to under earn. I get sucked into drama and then I'm not doing work that earns money. And that's just true. Like I still belong in program because I'm not fixed yet, and I'm happy I wrote the book and I hope people read it, because I wrote it from my heart, and I want people to recover. And it's also true that this is my comfort zone includes that I love drama and I get drawn into conflict easily. Right. So like we tell the truth about our comfort zone in program, and that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful, magical, wonderful thing. And my particular spin on it is that we get to love that part of us that loves drama, right? Or that has whatever dysfunctional, whatever. We get to be like, great job, little Nora. You figured out that you would feel more alive if you got into fights with people or something. I don't even know. I just accept it, But, you know, there's like places I want to go. And if I'm willing to go places and I've got a direction, even if it's not perfect or clear, it might be an amount of money, it might be a number of people I want to help, it might be a book that I want to write and have people understand a certain set of ideas, right? I got to take action towards that thing. I got to go in a direction, right? And what's going to be between me, like between my comfort zone and my vision, what's going to be there? Palm tree, would you like to read the words that are between my comfort zone and my vision?
Discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, doubt.
And for the record, there's also discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, and doubt between your comfort zone and robbing a bank, or between your comfort zone and committing murder, which I do not recommend. Please don't do that. Okay. So some discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is very good because it keeps you from doing stupid, bad, self-destructive things, I hope. Right? There's discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, and doubt between your comfort zone and, you know, jumping in front of a bus. Good. So how do you tell? Because like this is the thing you were saying, right? Like, how do I know? How do I know if I'm on the right track and is it real and da 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 ba da boo za ba dee za ba da, right? So let's talk about that. So let's say you've got a vision and you're not asking for support. Well, you feel enough discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you're going to end up going back to your comfort zone. I've known people in DA, I've met a few people who've made big numbers and it's all gone. Or they've inherited big numbers and it's all gone because it like came in fast, they didn't get support, they didn't get guidance, and now it's all gone. And they're like, I don't even know where it went, right? So what do we need to do to build our way, build our path to visions, to growth, to acquiring new skill sets, to having things that go on a resume, right? To being able to, you know, like I can say to you guys, hey, I've earned 6 figures in my vision as a business owner every year since 2011 by the grace of God. Like that's amazing, right? But that takes consistent action, but also it takes more than action. It takes getting support. Like the truth is I do it because I get support and I work the program and I do Clarity Plus support. I don't do it to be like, I'm Nora, I'm fixed now. What's up? Right? Because I'm not fixed. If I was fixed, I'd leave. I mean, no, God, please keep fixing me. It's good. I promise I won't leave, you know? In any event, so we got to get clarity and support, right? And we got to get good. It's a good enough information for the next thing and the next thing, and good enough support, right? Paper Lover was talking about how love and support feels scary to her. Cool. So the level of support she might get right now is going to be it might look different from the level of support I get when I call a friend and we're like getting real about our feelings and so deep and available and emotional and blah, 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 blah. But we've done a lot of work and so that feels good to us, you know? So, you know, you get good enough information, good enough support to take the next step and the next step, right? And then you get good enough and good enough and good enough to take the next step and the next step. And you get a little closer and you get a little closer. And by the way, as you go, you learn more about your vision. You say, do I really want to be, you know, an author published by a publishing house, or do I want to self-publish? That's interesting. You know, like you learn more and you learn more and you try this and you try that. And it's never, I don't believe it's ever about, well, I want to be this thing exactly, right? I believe that, I mean, I choose to believe that God plants ideas and visions in my heart so that I will get moving, because I really believe that our higher powers have something better for us than what we fill out on the order form for the universe, right? And I want to be available for the better, like the no, because I have something better. I want to be available for that as much as I can, because that's like way cooler, right? Than like the I'll show them you were wrong about me, mom, right? Like that isn't where I want to be. And it was where I wanted to be for a while, a long time ago, you know, but that got me moving and it brought me things that were better than that, you know? So then eventually we do this enough that we learn that discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, and doubt are not the unpleasant symptoms that we have to suffer through on the way to growth. We learn that discomfort, pain, fear, uncertainty, and doubt are actually the neon sign indicators that it's time to plug in. That's when program really gets magic, right? What's the first thing I think when I get a text from an ex-boyfriend? Who am I calling? You know, oh boy, you know. Plug in, plug in, plug in. You know, what's the first thing I think when I yell at my kids, right? Or get bad news from a client, right? Who do I call? Who do I want to connect with? Let me get on a meeting and do some numbers, like something that's about clarity, support, action, structure, just continuing to build and connect, you know? And the thing is, it's happened so many times, and I've experienced such transformation so many times that eventually your nervous system, like it takes time, guys. It takes a lot of repetition, okay? And you've heard me talk about affirmations, right? And I think I have the affirmation slide deep in here. I can go find it for you if you want to see it again. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of like doing this, like lather, rinse, repeat. But there comes a point where bad stuff doesn't hurt as much. Even my divorce, that was the hardest thing I ever lived through. Even my divorce, like I had done program for so long and I had prayed to God so many times to please God help me help more people. And as the divorce was happening, I was like, I know this is an answered prayer because I know so many people go through divorce. And I know that if I go through this, even though I was in so much pain, oh my God. But even as I was going through the pain, I was like, there's no way I would have understood this pain if I hadn't gone through it. And I know so many people go through it. I knew I was not alone. And I was doing a lot of SLA, so I was hearing a lot of people going through similar things or who had gone through similar things, and they were just wonderful, lovely people. And I just knew that I was supposed to go through that, even though it was really hard. And
that makes sense for me because this was very helpful because, before I heard that about higher power, that like God rejoices when you have problems because then you can reach out to him, her, them, and I was like, what kind of needy God is that? Like, happy that, have problems, then I will ask for help. And, but now I'm listening to you also think like as a parent, like, when kids have problems, you kind of, it's not like you're happy, but you can really be of service if they reach out. And I think that I haven't done enough, like I didn't do enough outreach or any outreach in some of my 12-step programs, and in DA I'm doing it, and this gives me additional motivation. I want to jump. Can I jump to another quick question?
I love questions.
Quick question.
I also just want to show you, look what I made.
Oh, sure.
Do you see this?
Oh.
This is what it really looks like. It's not so neat, I did this just today. I was like, I got to show them it really looks like this when you're growing. Anyway, go ahead. You were saying, sorry. What's your next
one? So about, you compared, to food program. Like I see in my experience, I see similarities between like money and relationship, like especially romantic relationships a lot. And right now it's getting later.
I'm sorry.
And but I'm in the process of, getting a sponsor in DA, and it feels like terrifying because it's like before I didn't spend time, just grab the first sponsor, whatever I had in other programs, and which I did with dating too. But now I was like, no, I have like a sober dating plan, like for my romantic life. I was like, I have to put more thought in selecting a sponsor. And they often say that you need to work with somebody who has what you want. I don't think I ever had a sponsor who had everything that I want. So, and I was like, I don't know if I can be that, choosy and picky. So anything that about selecting sponsors specifically in DA.
Why, yes, that is one of my favorite topics. I think sponsorship is a lie and a scam in DA. I'm not saying that you shouldn't find a sponsor. I'm just saying you will never, ever, ever get everything you need from a DA sponsor. This is a tribal program. It is the hardest stuff. It is the hardest stuff. You are literally dealing with your deep value and worth. You are dealing with the deepest level of survival in your nervous system. You're dealing with a survival level that comes from your babyhood. You need a tribe. Have I had nice moments with sponsors? Absolutely. But the vast majority of DA people don't even know how much they come in wanting their sponsor to be mommy, to be the mommy they never had. They want to find a sponsor who has what they want. What do they want? They want to be millionaires who are kind and sweet and joyful and happy and never have problems. And that's who they want for their mommy. And they think I'm funny and rich. So they ask me, I get 1,000 requests per year. And I'm like, sweetie, you don't want me as your sponsor. I'm never available, right? Like, that's why I didn't want to keep any of it to myself. I wanted to give it away, but I can't give it away one at a time. And a lot of them, they're not on these workshops because they're mad about that. They're like, no, I want a mommy. And I'm like, I know you do. And you deserved a mommy, but you actually deserve 14 mommies. And that's what no one seems to understand, is that the trauma that we have around these DA issues is so collective. It's so across the entire Western world. And it goes back at least 5 generations, probably more, but at least 5, because of this thing that happened in 1891, which honestly, I'm just so tired. I might not get into it this time around, but another time.
Yeah.
Hey, Nora, real quick, I'm going to open the chat because people are having to go and we want to have everyone exchange numbers.
I'm in. Do it. Open the chat.
Okay, good. And then also I put in the WhatsApp link.
Oh, yeah, please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So if people here aren't in that, that's where all the recordings, links are, and book studies are forming, and people want to take calls and chit chat. So, yeah.
For sure. And also, we announced the next workshop in that chat more than anywhere else. So, because we don't get in trouble in that chat. So please join the chat. Yeah. So if you want to, and these impromptu workshops will get announced in that chat. So Palm Tree, it's not that you shouldn't get a sponsor. I've had sponsors in DA. I've been in DA 20 years. I've probably had sponsorship a total of 3 years across my time. And it was a wonderful experience. But it's not the most important thing.
So in ACA, for example, they even say it's okay not to have a sponsor,
They
that
say
you
fellow
can
traveler.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like even have like peer group or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
And ultimately, like the point of the sponsor is to work through the steps. So you would say like you still need to sponsor or fellow traveler to work the steps with,
right?
Like in DA, right?
Or maybe a group. Yeah, I've worked the steps in DA with a group, which was really great because with like that group, we had a commitment across the group to make 3 live calls a day and give and receive PRGs. And so it was really easy to reach those people because they also had the same commitments I did, right? I think we had like 15 or 20 people in that group, and that was a nice size tribe, right? And we were all making 3 live calls a day, mostly to each other, but that was better practice than nothing,
So if I don't have, let's say, like, because right now when you thought about, you hit a nail on the head, like I definitely end up with, like even when I don't want a mommy, but I ended up treating, like expecting a mommy stuff. So if I end up like, working in the group, if I just don't have DA sponsor, but have a lot of outreach and, and have like somebody like a fellow traveler or group working the steps, like I would because I come from AA, like so we're so brainwashed there about sponsor, like you're gonna die if you don't have a sponsor, basically. So like, is that okay? But do you give me a permission slip, like potentially not to have a sponsor in
Not
DA?
only am I going to give you a permission slip, I'm going to give you my 12-step Talmud rabbi permission slip. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Because I love quoting the 12-step Torah Talmud, and like just throwing the book at people because they love to throw the book at me. And I'm like, no, I'm going to throw the book at you because I'm obsessed. Do you know how many times the word sponsor or sponsorship shows up in the first 164 pages of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, Miss
I
Palm
know
Tree?
because I was 0 because that was another
That is
workshop.
correct. Bill and Dr. Bob did not talk about sponsorship. It was a group. And for what it's worth, all of their wives were running the meetings. Like, it was a family affair.
Yeah.
And the first version of the 12 steps in Al-Anon was literally like, admitted we were powerless over, our alcoholism, but like decided we would do everything we could to get our husbands sober. Like crazy, like these people, you do not know how much they were not where we are today.
Okay.
And they were not done figuring it out. And when they wrote it all down, they were not expecting people to act like this was canon and it could never be improved upon or changed. And the fact that they were like trying to figure stuff out in this like very creative, innovative, like, let's just keep working on this. We don't know the answers. We don't know all the answers. That's the magic. That's the spirit of that is where we are in DA right now. When people start screaming about traditions and traditions 1 through 10 are about unity. Traditions 1 through 10 are about kindness and service and taking votes, right? Tradition 2, our group conscience, ultimate authority. It's about taking votes. That's about saying when the vote is this way, that's God's will. When a vote goes the other way, that's God's will. Let's keep voting, It's not about weaponizing and interrupting people when they're sharing and getting the perfect sponsor who gives you the number of times I've heard people tell me, oh yeah, my sponsor fired me because I missed the call. Or my sponsor fired me because I read her my time tracking and then my money, and I'm supposed to read her my money and then my time tracking. And I'm like, none of these people know what sponsorship is supposed to be. Like, I remember sponsoring, and the only way it ever worked was when I told people, I don't know God's plan for you. I'm not in charge of you. I'm just a bozo on the bus. Like, basically, I have to act like a fellow traveler. And honestly, that's what I try to do in these workshops, is just give you as much as I know, give you as much as I've achieved, give you as much as I've seen other people achieve, and be like, I'm still a bozo. Now go use this and tell other people and get together in groups and read my book, read somebody else's book. I don't care. Just get together,
No more questions.
I appreciate your question.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do evening gown jumper and then light touch. And then maybe we'll call it a night.
Great. Thank you. This is a little bit, it has more to do with, even though I want to stay hidden, I'm going to.
Yeah, stay hidden, but you can raise your hand. You won't be spotlit, but you can certainly raise your hand and then I can see you.
No, I meant I want to stay hidden in a way that I'm practicing not staying hidden.
It's all good. Just keep talking. You're fine.
Okay. So, whenever I used to love setting goals. I made a huge splash really young in entertainment. Now, when anybody for the past 20 years, anytime somebody even says the word goal, I just want to scream. I don't even know what I want, and I've never really thrived. So I'm so scared of just setting goals or visions or anything like that. Do you have any feedback or experience, strength, and hope or anything about that?
Yes, I do. Setting goals.
I mean, even thinking about goals is just so painful for me.
Yeah, I mean, I would say write about that and then call people and share it. It sounds like you've got a lot of pain about it.
Yes.
And a lot of grief. And like pain and grief are very important ingredients in the healing process every time. And anger is a very important ingredient in any healing process at any time. So I would just say, write about the pain, write about the grief, write about the anger, and then call people and share about it. You know?
Okay.
And that's a start, and that's the beginning. And you know, there's other programs where they're a little less twisted up than we are in DA. And they will say stuff like, you know, the people who are like brand new at like abstinence and OA, like it's just a little less complicated. Like food, honestly, food is very complicated and it was very hard to get abstinent. Food's got nothing on money, right? It's got nothing on money and earning and visibility. It's got nothing. But I remember hearing people in OA talk about, you know, praying to be willing, 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 you know, and don't even worry about that. Just start writing down how you feel. Just start telling the truth, right? And start finding people to tell the truth to. And that is the magic of process addiction recovery, is writing about what I feel right now without running from it, and then finding people I can read it to and talk to about it and not feel like I'm going to die, or maybe feel like I'm going to die, but then when they say, thank you for sharing, I really relate, feel like I'm going to die less, you know?
Yes, thank you.
You might just
And
need to be in that phase for a while, and that's a great place to be, because the only way to move forward is to be where you are first.
Yeah. I think what I've done before, I'm so glad you talked about not just talking to one person about things, because I've talked, you know, to my sponsor a lot about it, or my therapist, or maybe one friend, but you know, to test the waters and ask a bunch of people. And to
Not
listen.
just that. I wouldn't like you don't have to ask too many people. Just start writing down what you're really feeling. And then just tell as many people as you need to. Tell the story as many times as you need to. But just don't tell it over and over to the same person, because that's asking them probably for more than they can give.
Yeah.
You can tell it to 20 people across 2 weeks.
Yeah,
You're not gonna get love and support in the way you want it from all 20, but you'll get love and support from some of them. And you'll get all kinds of interesting reactions that will actually expand your mind a little, you know?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Light touch for the last question.
Yay. What a great thing to have a great segue into my question. I wasn't clear how to word it, but now I'm very clear. So you were just saying, talk to a lot of people to get the love and support needed. So that sounds easy enough. So the question is, how do you give it to people when they call you?
Oh, that's such a great question. I love that question. I'll tell you how I do it. So somebody calls me, and usually I like to do, I was about to say I like to do this a lot, but the truth is, I don't do it enough, but I do like to do it. And if somebody calls me and they're like, hey, or if somebody puts out an outreach request and I'm like, oh, I can do that outreach request. I really like it when it's 3-3 or 4-4, because I like having the limits and knowing that I'm not going to be on the call for 30 minutes. I'm just going to be on the call listening for 3 or 4 minutes. And so they tell the story, whatever they tell, they do the check-in. And sometimes it's like really sad, you know, or really bleak. And here's what I generally do when they tell me those kinds of stories. I say, well, first of all, I want to tell you, you're doing great. You're doing all the right things. You're reaching out for support. You're calling people. You're telling your truth. That is freaking fantastic. Good job. And they all go, really? And then if I've listened to their story and I've heard anything resembling coping mechanisms, right? Like they're like, I just can't, blah, blah, blah. I have to stay hidden in my room under the covers. I'll say to them, and I'll just pick a random name, Liza Minnelli, you're so brave and creative and brilliant and wonderful, not because you're one of the biggest stars of Broadway and the screen of the mid to late 20th century, but because you stayed alive during that horrific childhood where your mom was popping pills and your dad was like doing crazy stuff, and you stayed alive and you stayed breathing, and you figured out whatever you needed to figure out in order to stay alive. And I'm just really impressed as heck. And I just want to celebrate that little girl that you were, that little Liza, who figured out how to stay small, how to stay big, how to hide in plain sight, whatever it is they're telling you they're doing. Like, wow, that thing you figured out, it really must have worked for you because you're still here. And that's an amazing thing. And there was a guy named Larry Bird who asked this earlier, and I don't know if he's still on, but I'll just say, like, this is the thing we can give each other in program where we don't even know our last names. We've never, like, these outreach groups, I've never seen these people's faces, a lot of them, we can give each other this because it's so pure. And it's very, very hard to give and receive that inside of a marriage or a business partnership unless it's mutual. If you marry somebody who learns the skill set along with you, it becomes a way to kind of like settle down around fights and conflicts, and it's really nice, if you get good enough at practicing it with program people and letting program people affirm you for it, you can give it to your kids, right? That's something that has been a great gift for me with my children, is like when my children have acted out, because, I have kids, they act out. When my children have acted out, I'm like, oh, what are you telling me that you need right now? And even I don't get very triggered by my kids' different ways of acting out, but once in a while I do. And even then I'm like, okay, whatever is triggering me, they're in pain. This is a coping mechanism. What can I do to go deeper so that they don't need as much of this coping mechanism that I find so difficult? And you guys, some of you have heard me say this, like my son, my older son, he's so compliant and he's such a rule follower and everything. So he didn't act out in the way that we think of little boys acting out, like the way my little one did. He acted in, right? And he learned to like dissociate and be really quiet and also kind of like lose focus. And I would sit with him while he was doing his homework and I'd be like, come on, you got to look at the screen and type. And he'd be like, right? And it would really be hard for me. And then I thought, ADHD, I mean, he got a diagnosis of ADHD. I thought ADHD starts as a deficit of loving attention to the child from the 14 caregivers. And I can't get 14 caregivers into his life. I just hire like one sitter who I love, who they love, who's like part of our world most nights. But what else could I do? Well, I could take some afternoons off work and I could go pick him up from school and I could just pour love into him with no like, hey, we gotta go. Hey, we gotta get homework done. Hey, finish your dinner. Hey, get dressed for school. Hey, brush your teeth. Like none of that. Just, hey, I love you. Hey, loving attention. I'm right here, like right here. And sure enough, that plus like different like skill building for helping him do his homework, like those things have really strengthened his ability to focus. Imagine that, So if you have kids, that can, it's not too late, you can tune into them. And if you don't, or if your kids are grown, we get to exchange it with each other and then see how it feels to imitate the way people treat us and treat ourselves that way. And then once we can treat ourselves that way, we can treat other people that way too.
Thank you so much. Can I just share a very quick story?
Sure. Who's talking?
This is still light touch.
Light touch. Go ahead. Touch me lightly. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Did that sound inappropriate? Sorry.
That's exactly what that's why I picked that name. It's a name I use in a different call actually. And
Sure.
so I just thought about 5 different stories, but
Yeah.
one was that I got really triggered at work. Somebody was confronting me. I've had a history of getting fired almost 10 times at the same job from different people, you know. And each time I just turn up to my spirit, you know, who I've been connecting with since I was like 30 to get out of every other addiction. And now I'm going to be 70 tomorrow. And so I told my boss, I don't want to talk to you. She says, I need to talk to you in my office. I don't want to talk to you, like a little kid. And she was like, you have to talk to me. So she was very kind and polite and all that. And it didn't work out well. And she was going to write me up the next day. And I just took time and I wrote up to my higher power and I said, this is what I'm feeling and thinking and what do you say? And my spirit said, I got you. It's taken care of. And I'm like, yeah. So when I went into work the next day, I didn't even think about making amends. I just automatically wanted to connect with her and say, you know, I don't like the way I acted the other day. So, you know, what you were saying about making an effort to get to know me and be open and help me, I do see that. And I'm trying to do the same also with everybody here. And she got it and we both felt it, you know. And so for me, I don't know how to interact with people, but my higher power knows how to reparent me. And that's what I'm hearing as you're speaking. So, you know, the more I'm just
Yeah,
in,
that's nice, but if you want to get better at it faster, you've got to really practice with people, you know? You
Yeah.
got to really get yourself out into the field and practice with people because you shouldn't have to suffer like that, you know? I don't want you to suffer light touch, you know?
I received that. Mhm.
I'm sorry?
I said, I received that. I
Good,
hear it. Yeah.
good. I want you to know how lovable you are. And really, the only way we get it is we just got to practice the connection at whatever level we can take it in. Paper Lover's over here. She's like, I'm just going to say hi and have an abundant day. And that's all I'm doing. And that's all she has to do. That's all she has to do. If she does that 3 times a day for a year, she'll be in a better place than she was today.
So I just bought myself a birthday card that says happy birthday to a daughter who's always been charming and lovable. And on the inside it says, it's no wonder you always got away with so much. And hope you have the birthday fun you hope you have all the birthday fun you can get away with. And then I put the word me, meaning God, you know, so I can get away with God with whatever I need. It just helps me so much. So I can't thank you enough for everything you're doing, and I could see why it'd be time to go now.
Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. Is that okay with everybody? So we can